I'm recording audio on our end. Thunder clap.
It was,
All right, boys.
it was more like a thunder round of applause.
To be fair, we all weren't in the same Sensei O'Donnell Japanese class, and I was never in one. So could we get maybe a 3-2-1?
Yeah.
Thunder is the 3-2-1.
I'm sorry. I wasn't
Thunder
there.
clap.
Yeah.
It's a 3-2-1. It's a
All right.
three-syllable 3-2-1.
All right.
3,
Fair
2,
enough.
1, clap.
What?
What? No.
No.
You don't. No.
All right.
Shut up. Shut up. I'm leading this. I'm MC of the Thunderclaps. You two, get your palms at the ready. Mom spaghetti. Thunder clap.
We'll figure it out.
I don't know if that was an internet thing or not. We were good on our end.
It'll be fine.
It'll
It'll be
good.
fine. And this is gonna
It's always-
this intro
it's
will
always
make
worth
it
it,
into
yeah.
the this will make it into the episode for sure. Welcome back to Tales from the Slide Deck, everybody. Hey, I'm Zach, and I'm presenting this episode.
Hi, Zach. It's Ryan. Love your work.
Hi, Zach. I'm Taylor
Hey, Taylor.
from high
Hey,
school.
Ryan. Hey, buddies. Good to see your smiley faces again, even if it is from way down here in the South.
And maybe from elementary school. Did you ever go to Stanwood Elementary?
No, I didn't go to elementary school. I was homeschooled.
Oh.
I was homeschooled until middle school. So,
Damn.
yeah.
Well, I'm Taylor from high school then.
Right.
And I'm Ryan from the baseball team that you either beat us or you were on
I beat
that
you.
baseball team.
I
and
beat
we
you
just
guys.
lost the
Wait,
whole
where
year.
Taylor?
Okay.
Weren't you and Cody on the Marlins that one year?
No.
No.
I played T-ball for like 1 year.
Oh.
So I would have been like way out of your guys' age
Well, then was it
bracket.
you, Ryan? I felt like it was either was one of you two that were on the team. You were teammates with Cody on the Marlins, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Sick.
it was that guy.
Sick as hell. Sick as hell. Yeah, I remember kicking y'all's ass as the Toronto Blue Jays, but I just remember watching
Yeah, I don't
you
think we-
and Cody because you both were the beefiest boys on that team. You two were like the
Oh,
two
yeah.
tanks. You were,
The Vogel box
yeah.
of that team.
What is it, Bebop and Rocksteady? That's what you guys were.
Yeah. But instead of steroids, we were just eating like Little Debbie's cakes.
Yeah. Put a
Like
pin in
juice
that,
balls.
okay?
And
So this has actually been really fun. Now that we got these episodes up and running, guys. I don't know about you. I haven't been listening to them, but I've been telling a lot of people about them word of mouth wise. I was telling,
Oh, is that why we have listens?
yeah, we actually have to redo
Yeah.
the whole podcast by mouth to the people we tell it to.
I've done a
We do.
terrible job marketing.
Oh, yeah.
I've done a terrible job marketing, but we are getting some hits from like people will watch a video on like some dudes talking about barbarians in the 1200s, and then we'll get a click from that onto.
I imagine-
So,
We're just like,
so that's the pool we kind of want to be in for people finding it.
a big salute
organically.
to our most loyal fan base, people who fell asleep listening to a different podcast,
Yeah.
and then we just
To
auto
downfalls of civilization videos, and now
Yeah.
here's a 2.5 hour little thing. Kind of has the same feel to it.
We have that podcast at home.
So I was telling my friend Ryan Stogner about this, and we had hit the Chiba a little bit. We were a little light in the heads, but I was explaining to him some of the stories we've gone over, and the way that we all navigate these stories. It's so awesome the way that some of these stories get to be told, and especially the last one. I don't know if we're gonna put it out in order, but Ryan's one about space. Ryan's one about nuclear bomb. Taylor and the Toyota Wars. It's all of it. Just the way we're able to.
Are you giving your own show a 5-star?
I
review?
am. I'm giving it a 5-star. Just the idea that. We,
giving it a 6.
we each know a bit about something that the other two people don't know something about, and we can come together and give a presentation and shine a light on some things that at least for me it means a bit to me, And for Taylor, I know you've dived into your own little rabbit hole of Toyota as time has gone on, and you've learned a lot. And
it's a very broad hole with the only connecting piece being Toyota.
This one,
Like, I feel like I've given you a lot of shit for doing Toyota episodes, but it's like having gone through and now editing Chicken War and soon to be editing your Metro episode. Like, it's just like, no, you've covered. I mean, we all got something to bring to the table, and it's fun that we've all known each other for so long, and we can still surprise each other with these fun facts. And
Truly,
stories. That's what I'm in it for.
that. Yeah.
I think that's why we'll always have 3 5-star reviews, because we make a podcast exclusively for ourselves.
Yeah.
And like, hopefully other people like it. Like, fingers crossed.
and for the archives of the internet. So when they dig up the old hard drives, they'll see this.
3,000 years from now, somebody will know only of the chicken tax by the words "cluck hold a fuck."
So a lot of people that have talked about the chicken tax. It's a pretty exhausted topic on the internet, but I guarantee you we're the only ones using the term fuckhole.
Yeah, I would be willing to put all my money on that.
And the only ones that went on like a 20-minute rant about Lyndon B. Johnson's dong.
We've done that, I think, multiple
Oh.
times.
Yeah, no, it's popped up any opportunity.
I mean,
No dong left unturned.
You know,
I'll mention Jumbo at the drop of a hat.
But I love,
out of
I love
anything
you
he
guys.
could be remembered for, I think he would appreciate that his penis was the thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty obvious through his actions. He just would oftentimes, like the old phrase of like being good at negotiating and just like putting them on the table, is literally like stems from the old like urban myths
LBJ, the
about
LBJ way
Lyndon
of
B.
business.
Johnson, of like,
Follow me.
oftentimes he would just flop Jumbo out on the table and be like, "What do you think of that?"
Okay, so then let's get started with this one. And forewarning, guys, it is a 40 slider, but it is,
wow.
I think it's a 40 plus, like maybe 42. But we got one that it's
He's
a
a 40
sequence of
pounder.
slides as we build. We're doing one sentence, next slide, one sentence, next slide. So,
I'm not worried.
all right, I'm not worried either. I'm kind of worried.
But can we talk about this title though?
International Park. Yeah. I
Yeah.
came up with that an hour ago.
Is this the one? Is this the one with the John Hammond and it's a bunch of nations and then like the storm happens and the borders fall down and then the nations are running loose.
Yep.
It's offside Costa Rica.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys are referencing. I wish I did.
I'm doing a Jurassic Park. I'm doing a really bad Jurassic Park reference.
Oh, Hammond. Yeah. The Jurassic Park guy.
Dino
Oh, I should have put it as Jurassic Park. Never mind. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm a little slow today. It's been a long day. So let's go to the next slide. We're back in baseball, boys.
Woo!
That's good old Bernard Bonds. And I thought the last one
Bonds.
I did was about stadiums and facilities. So I thought I'd bring it back to the good sport, the great sport of baseball.
Looks like we got a little Bay Area rivalry going on.
Yeah, those
here.
are the Athletics.
Yep, that's the
Yep,
A's.
of
Formerly Oakland Athletics. They're going to be moving to Sacramento next year, and they're going to be there for 4 years while they wait for a stadium in Las Vegas to be built. Controversial times right now for the Oakland A's because they are not going to be representing a city for the next 4 years after this season. They're just going to be known as the Athletics. They're not going to be called the Sacramento A's, and the stadium they're going to in Sacramento is a minor league baseball field. It seats 10,000 people, whereas Major League Baseball
That's not a problem.
stadiums seat about 35,000 people. And, the A's are in hot water right now. It's a hard time to be an A's fan.
Yeah, here I thought it was a lateral move, but this sounds like they've just effectively turned the Athletics into like, what is it, a AAA team?
Yep.
Or like a double
Yeah.
A team?
I mean,
Essentially, yes. I mean,
once
But they still play in the league.
philosophically,
Once
too, they
again-
have stripped the team for parts. And so it's just pretty much when the talent comes up, they're just going to toss them over to another good team that has that's worth a damn. And then they're just going to have a cycle of bad players forever.
also just as a Mariners fan, I would like to argue like, yeah, they're always kind of a AAA team, but Bang. Fuck
you.
Oakland Athletics.
Fuck you, Oakland.
God.
Although they're above the Mariners right now in the standings. Mariners are not doing so hot.
Fuck them.
They don't even have a home.
That's why I hate them.
Which is so funny because it's like the most bad business thing is they knew the contract for that stadium was going to be up in 2024. And they knew the lease on the rental was going to be up in 2024. And they're like, we'll figure it
Why
out.
don't
That
they
sounds
just
like a
squat?
bridge we should cross in 2024.
Why don't they just squat the stadium? Like, who's gonna kick them out?
Exactly. The city of Oakland. Come on.
Yeah.
That'd be the dopest shit in baseball.
Squatters' rights for the Athletics.
So, Ryan, if you didn't know, this is not a part of the episode at all, but it's fun. This is a fun angle. This is in San Francisco. And if you didn't know, right, where's my pen? Here we go. Pen on. Right about here is the water.
Okay.
This is McCovey Cove over here, named after William McCovey. So there are kayakers and everybody right around here waiting for that ball to go over the fence into the water.
fucking
Yeah,
dope.
it's pretty dope. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think we brought this up in the stadium episode, but it's that much. It's like 30 feet below sea level, essentially.
Yeah, it's about. I'd say this one's about 20, but yeah, it's a decent amount below sea level. Yeah.
is this Candlestick?
This is well, this was called
No,
at the time. It's AT&T Stadium now, but it was
They had separated
do you
the
smell
football and
toast?
You
baseball.
asked me the one question.
point.
Every episode has the
I'm
one
sorry.
question.
Yeah.
But at this point in time, they had separated the football and baseball.
Yeah, they were no
Operations.
playing. Not. Now it's called Oracle
Which was-
Park, but it was AT&T Stadium.
And this is the new stadium for them, the newer one,
Newish.
because I remember the one that's like downtown San Francisco.
That's the one. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the
Okay.
one right on the water.
This is
It
a
opened in
different
2000 as the Pacific Bell Park. Cool. So we're gonna come back here later on. Do you have to? Dang it! Click here. Oh, then it leaves a dot. Okay, I'm thinking out loud here. There we go. So
To buy us some time, Zach, I want to say that was a great straight line for just something you drew
Yeah.
across a screen.
thank you.
Like,
That's smooth, isn't it?
like for freehand with a mouse.
good.
But I
Good
shoot with
shit.
this hand.
That's fair.
I call that one Michael J. Fox.
We're tying it back to the Future, just like
Every
one of my
episode has to have it. So baseball, right? This is the baseball diamond. This is all the
Yeah.
positions. You have your pitchers labeled number 1, your catchers number 2, first, second, third. Because the shortstop was introduced later on in the game. So your 1, 2, 3,
Oh,
4,
so-
5, and then shortstop is your 6th spot.
Then 6.
And then your outfield is 7, 8, and 9. We'll do an episode later on down the road about scorekeeping in baseball, where you can map out how a play occurred by using the numbers. If you say like that was a 5-3 out, that means the ball was hit to the third baseman.
Oh.
The third baseman threw it over to the first baseman, and so the two people that touched the
Gotcha.
ball, you're locating. So sometimes you can get some really wild ones. Like we just saw one that was a 3-2-3 double play where the ball was grounded to the first baseman. He tags the runner that was going that way, and then he throws it. No, the first baseman. It's grounded to the first baseman. He throws it to this catcher. The catcher tags the guy coming home, and he throws it back to the first baseman and gets that batter out at first. Incredible! It's an incredible, just way of
The combinations of all
Yeah.
where everything can go, but it also reminds me of like your military alphabet, your military lingo.
Oh,
Your phonetic
Yeah.
alphabet.
Yeah, where it's just kind of like, no, if you're really into baseball, you know what somebody did a 3-6-4-5 and fucking that's the inning.
and yeah.
That's honestly part of the reason why it works like so well. Is I still argue baseball is a sport like best consumed through radio.
Yeah.
And like once you understand the jargon,
Agreed.
like you paint the picture in your mind yourself. Like all it takes is just like the words, and you hear, oh, it was a 5-4-3 triple play. Oh, I know exactly what happened with the ball. Like the ball was hit to the left
yeah.
down the third base line. third baseman got the guy who was on. You had a guy on first and second, and the third baseman threw it to second base and then back to first base, and all of them were out. That's a triple play.
And it's like you could compare the time on the two ways that you described that, and one was about 4 seconds, and the other one was like I don't know, I aged a year.
Yeah, maybe.
And you with baseball, there are so many things you've seen before, you heard before, so many routine things that you can put the picture in your head with just the numbers representing where it was hit and how the game was moved. So we've talked about baseball before, but we know the basics, right? Like there's a batter comes up to bat, and then the batter tries to get to first base, right? The object of the game is to get to the base before the ball does, or to hit it and not get caught in the outfield or in the infield or anything like that, right? It's to reach first base or second or
let
third
the ball
base.
hit the ground and get to first base.
Or hit it over a wall.
Or hit it
Yeah.
where they
And
can't
then-
grab it before it touches the ground. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can also get to first base via the walk, which is when you stand at the plate waiting for your pitch and 4 unhittable balls are thrown at you. You then earn
Sometimes.
a walk. I mean,
Yeah.
okay.
Umpire's
Don't bring
discretion.
politics into this, okay? But
No. But it's baseball be complicated.
baseball does
Well,
become.
also, there is such a thing as the intentional walk.
Oh,
Which
right,
used
right,
to
right.
be like you'd have to throw 4 balls, but now you just signal to the umpire like, "No, we're walking this motherfucker," and we're not going to go through the theater of walking him actually by
I don't
throwing
like
4
that.
balls.
Yeah, I think
don't-
I've brought it
I
up
want
in
the
previous
randomness
episodes.
of
Go ahead, Ryan.
yeah. Oh, I like the randomness of 4 pitches because 4 pitches you could have there's room for, and I've learned this through these episodes and talking with you, Zach. There's room for an error where somebody could possibly
Yes.
steal a base in that.
Ryan, 100%. And that's
And
not
you-
what this episode is about. But there was one where
No,
Adrian
no.
Beltre was being intentionally walked, throwing the 4 pitches, and he went out for one and hit it and got a hit. He just said,
Yeah.
F your intentional walk. I'm going to go for this one.
Yeah, exactly.
Because once they're to lose, they're trying to walk you in.
Yeah. I'm giving you an out if I
It's the worst case
try.
scenario. I end up on first
Yeah.
Yeah.
with 1 strike.
Well, no, you go 4 and 1, or 1 and 4 basically
Yeah.
in our walk.
But I think this came up previously or some other time I was talking with you boys. They did take away the 4-pitch intentional walk where you had to do the whole theater. You had to do the production, throw the ball 4 times, and that would affect the pitcher's pitch count. So the pitch count ends up being a number you look at to see if if it's time to pull him out of the game. And if you have a couple intentional walks, if you intentionally walk 4 people, that is 12 pitches added to your count. Now, it's not. It's 0 pitches. So
And I can also see just speeding up the game. I know the episode isn't about this.
It
but
also does speed up the game.
it does speed up the game. Yeah. When you don't have to do
Which
the
is,
theatrics.
I would probably their primary reason as to like including the like, if you're just gonna intentionally walk the guy, let us know. We'll put him on first.
Yeah.
We'll save everyone a little bit of time. I do have a question about these numbers though. Does this also correspond to batting order?
No.
No. Is batting order set by position?
No. It's set by preference on
Okay.
it's a strategy.
Okay.
It's however you want to build your lineup.
Okay. I had no idea. That was one thing I've never known about baseball is if it's like, nope, but depending on position, your players are always batting in that order.
I could
or
see
if
that.
It's something you can
It's-
customize in any way.
It's the second option.
Yeah. Okay.
You can customize it
I'm
any
just
way
dumb.
you want.
I just don't know baseball.
And so then we kind of went over it. The other option is you are here and then you hit the ball way out there, and that's called a home run. When it goes over the fence of this right angle.
It's pretty sick.
It's always dope. Some little kid usually ends up getting a ball from somebody.
I mean,
It's a magical
little
moment.
kids get balls for free,
And
on
they
a
get
lot
balls
of things.
and they get balls taken away from them from other fans. And
That's also true. A lot of times, little kids get balls for free from foul balls, which are not nearly as cool as catching a home run.
No.
And usually you're in more expensive seats that are like you're more likely to catch a foul ball in an expensive seat
Yeah.
than you are a home run in a cheaper.
They
seat.
really understand the
Somebody.
economics on that.
I'm sorry I use the kids. somebody gets to go home with the ball.
It's bourgeois decadence to catch a foul ball, is what I'm saying.
And so it's been explained in, I think, the first baseball episode we did, but you get 4 balls, and then you get to go to your first base, or 3 strikes, and you're out. And the at-bat has to reach a resolution within those means. 4 balls, you get to go to your first base. If you get 3 strikes first, you're going to go back to the dugout. And foul balls, if the ball is hit outside of this right angle, if it's hit any direction but these 90 degrees, is considered a foul ball.
Yeah.
And so a foul ball...
I know there's something... I know. Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
No, I know foul ball, like, it has to be infield until it gets past first or third base, and then it can
Yeah.
roll.
Yeah, it has to...
If it's hit the ground infield,
Mm-hmm.
but if it rolls out
Yeah.
after the base,
Precisely. It has to be...
But what about in the air?
In the air, no, it has to touch down inside the right angle here, in air. So
Okay.
if you hit a ball like this and it's curving, but then it touches down right on the other side of that after the third baseline, tough luck, buddy. That's a foul ball. But if it were to do
Gotcha.
this, if it were to
Gotcha.
like boom, skip, and then boom right there, and then dribble out of bounds, if it touched ground after third base, but on the inside of the, in the field of play, then
You're in
line ball.
Oakland. It takes a weird bounce
Yeah.
and goes out.
In fact, playing the show, I've actually ran into this a couple times recently where I hit a ball like this and then it bounced in play, but then the stadium was built where like the stands are right here, so it went over the wall, and that's a ground rule double, brother. That's when the ball hits down in play but then goes out of play. If you're in the outfield, and let's say this is the outfield wall,
yeah,
and you hit
I
it
knew
and it
about double
bounces
and outfield.
on the ground, if it hits somebody, if it hits a player and it goes out, it's a home run. If it hits the ground and then goes out, it's a ground rule double. You're automatically given second base.
I
Fun
pay
baseball.
all the money in the world to watch an at bat where the batter smashes the pitcher in the face, and then it goes over the left field wall.
I
into
don't
the
know if
front row.
physics could make that happen, but it would be something else to see. It would be
A home run where you also beamed the living shit out of the
Yeah.
fucking pitcher.
Or anybody, really.
That's baseball.
Yeah.
So those are some basics. And then I wrote down like the psychology of the pitch count, which we won't get into. I'm going to save that for a whole nother episode. But it's when you come up to bat, you're looking at a 0-0 count. The opportunities are endless, but depending on the first pitch is how your at bat is going to go. If you don't, typically about 95% of the time, you don't swing at a first pitch. It's just bad manners or you're overly confident. It does result well, but a batter's first job is to rake up the pitcher's pitch count. And then the pitcher's objective is to do the best job with the littlest amount of pitches done. That's kind of the par. So he's going to want to throw you strikes and make you strike out or make you ground out. Mm-hmm. It's a psychological game. This game of baseball is. So speaking of pitching, I think I have a slide about pitching. There's different ways to throw the ball.
Ooh.
Pitch don't kill my vibe.
Yeah, I was pretty happy on that one.
Oh my god.
So back in the 1800s, they weren't throwing your 95-mile-an-hour balls. They were just lobbing things to each other. So as time, that's why you can get pitchers throwing 250 pitches in a game, whereas now pitchers throw maybe 90, 100, and then they're taken out of the game. So as time went on, pitchers found a way to take away the offense, and it's by throwing the ball in different manners with different hand positions. As you can see here, the most standard, the bread and butter, is the four-seam fastball. You put two fingers on top of the laces, and you just huck it. It's that direct flight. There's nothing fancy about it. As you can see here, this is where the pitcher's arm will release it, and it just goes straight. It might die down a little bit, but it's a direct flight to where it needs to go. And then you have the two seam, which I believe has a lot less velocity because there's a lot less control when you're throwing it, and that'll give you the same kind of thing, but once you're
It's less predictable.
Yeah.
it's if you're throwing somebody your four seam, they've clocked in the timing of a 98 mile per hour pitch. So if you have in your arsenal like a 93 mile an hour pitch, that delivery difference is going to make so they whiff on the ball, that they swing and miss because their timing of it is a little bit different. It looks like it's coming the same way, but the timing of it's going to be different. Baseball psychology. Then you have yourself a curveball. That is something the greats have. The curveball is one that looks like it's going to come straight at you, but then it just dies at the end. As this part of the chart can show you here, it just dies like the wind hit it.
I love these graphics you have, especially on the left, that show like from the batter's perspective how the ball is going to travel at you.
Yeah.
As well as a horizontal kind of cross section of how it's dropping.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all tricky ways. It's all tricky ways of spinning the ball. Like I get it. I could never be a pitcher because one, it's endless discipline, but two, much like a pool, it's all depending on where you're kind of adding that last little spice and friction to the ball, as well as how you're throwing it in the whole motion.
Absolutely.
Can change how it curves through the air, what kind of speed it has. I don't understand a knuckleball though.
The knuckleball.
I've been looking at all these.
That's the point of a knuckleball.
It's a mystery.
Yeah, exactly. Knuckleball is the skeezy uncle of the pitching arsenal. Knuckleball is it's thrown. I mean, this is an audio medium, but it is, as you can see with the picture, it is thrown literally from your knuckles. And your arm action is not supposed to, like, you're hucking it. You're just supposed to be like lobbing it into the air. And the thing about a knuckleball, all of these pitches have a rotation to them. You can see with the laces, you can see how they are. As this diagram here shows how the ball is going to be moving as it's coming towards the plate. The knuckleball sits dead in the air. The ball never moves. It just floats.
It breaks
it's a
physics.
floating ball coming towards you. And it is a lot slower, but the way it moves through the air, it wiggles and it dies, and it's an unpredictable pitch. Knuckleball pitchers have no control over where it's going to go. They could throw it over their catcher's head. They could throw it deep in the dirt. But as long as it sells the illusion long enough that the batter swings and misses, or maybe it lands in the zone. Who knows? It
could be any fucking pitch at any given time.
And so there's only been, to my knowledge, two pitchers of note that their primary pitch was the knuckleball. That was Chuck Knobloch and R.A. Dickey, who was a Mariner and won the Cy Young when he went to Toronto. But because his pitcher was so unique and people were just so behind on how to... He had enough control over it that he won the Cy Young that year. 1 year out of his 10-year career. But so these are different pitches, and we don't have to go over every single one of them, but each one has their own design to give an illusion of where the pitch is going to go, making it harder for the batter to hit it.
I'm sorry.
I'm a big fan of the slurve.
Yeah, the
whenever
sliding
I'm
curve.
pitching in the show.
Yeah.
I love the
That
slurve.
if
It's such a good
I've been
pitch.
using that on one of my pitchers in the show too, and it's like
It's so nasty.
Ryan, if I could, it's much like the curveball, but imagine if this line just went like whoosh, and then it hits the plate. Like it just has one
It just
last push
aggressively like
at the last second.
It just hits-
You just see
it
see
just
grown men
turns and hits the
embarrassed
North
swinging at this
Tower.
thing.
I understand somewhat of the physics of this, even though it all looks like somebody just throwing a ball and trying to get into a box from a layman's perspective watching it on TV.
So even with
but no.
this technology and fundamentals in baseball, batters still hit the ball. I mean, this if you were to present this as like an idea of like, yes, all I have to do is throw the ball across the plate, but I can throw it however I want. I don't have to tell you how I'm going to throw it. Batters still have a way of connecting with balls and hitting home runs, and so it gets to the point where a pitcher gets taken out if they give up a lot of runs. And baseball primarily always has runs scored. I know people like to say baseball's a boring game, but at least aside from soccer, they're scoring. Like in soccer, you can have a 0-0 game for a long time. In baseball, a 0-0 game, aside from Taylor, the playoff game the Mariners were in, the last playoff game that went 18 innings with a 0-0 score, that doesn't happen often. So pitchers still give up runs even with this technology. So a pitcher will end up, depending on how long the leash is on this pitcher, if they give up about 5 runs, I'm pulling the pitcher. If they give up 5 runs in an inning, I'm definitely pulling that pitcher. But
I'm firing that pitcher. I'm
calling him an Uber, and I'm getting him out
down
of the
to
stadium. But so Felix Hernandez made a great career for himself by being a pitcher that can go 7 innings with giving up 2 or less runs. He set the record for most consistent games doing that, consecutive games doing that. But that's a high mark for pitchers. Felix himself being
also,
a great.
If I'm not mistaken, Felix was also well known for his 2-seam.
Yeah, 2-seam and 4-seam. Yeah, he was a heat pitcher. He probably wrecked his arm long term, but he was a real heater. He threw hot heat, and people couldn't catch up to it.
What I want to know, because I assume a lot of these techniques come from early baseball, and just sort of.
No, the slurve is actually only like 20 years old.
Evolve.
Yeah, a lot of these pitches are relatively recent.
In fact,
a lot of baseball back in the day was just like 4-seam fastball, just fucking huck and chuck it.
I would say the fastball has always been there. It's been, it is your kick flip it's your ollie of pitching. It's the most basic throw.
Yeah.
And then, like, most recently, it also takes an evolution of a throw. Like, if someone were to, what's an example here? Oh, see the changeup in the splitter. You move your fingers to one other side of the ball. You move for more dominant or a bigger gap or however you throw it. It just takes one guy to be the one that's like, I'm working on something over here. Actually, this year, Mariners pitcher George Kirby has been working on a slider, which is another bread and butter of pitching. But he's been working on such an aggressive slider that no one's seen that kind of action on it before. It's not a curve. It's not a slurve, but it's not a slider, so it's just this off-brand. And if it takes on, it could be the Keebler secret of like what a new pitch can be brought into the lexicon.
Which also curious, like I assume there's like fads in a sense. I mean, you also have pitchers that excel in maybe one or a handful of these grips and pitches and pitch techniques, but you have like were there decades where it's just like, oh shit, the slider's the next big thing, so you have like it's the era of the curveball or the slider or something like that. It gets into fashion.
I mean, you even get into like times where like there's like the own lexicon of it, like having played through not the most recent MLB The Show, but like the one prior to the 2023, where they like feature the Negro Leagues and Satchel Paige, where like that guy had his own individual name for like each one of his pitches.
The old slippery
like,
dippery.
He called it like the like or like the bumblebee or something of that nature, and like we would call it a curveball now, but he called it this sort of thing when a lot of these pitches were being innovative in their time.
That's cool.
And so that also is a defining line of a pitcher. Your starters are going to be a pitcher that has an arsenal. 4 is a very standard amount of pitches that a pitcher excels at and brings to the game every like a deck. They're in their deck. You have a fastball, a 4-seam fastball. They got a curve. They have a changeup. And a slider. Yeah. That's the big 4.
I've played enough RPGs, Zach. I know you need your 4 talismans of power, and you have 30 to pick from.
And they are pitchers that can do those 4 pitches a lot. And then your other tier is like a closer or a setup pitcher or a mid reliever, and those guys probably have 3 that they excel at, and 3 that they can only throw kind of a lot. Middle reliever pitchers can only throw maybe 20 to 30 pitches before the arm's hurting and I got to ice it, coach. So it's kind of a defining line. And some people that we'll talk about today, they went from being a starter to being a relief pitcher, and it made them excel. They were not trying to be the best at 4 pitches. They won it down to 3 pitches, and they were able to do them a lot faster for a lot shorter amount of time. So pitching, that's pitching. I think that's a good basics on pitching. I think we all can, we got a B plus on our pitching report card. Any other questions before we move on past pitching? All right.
Let's go.
Let's
I
go.
want to know
My dad's gonna be so happy
Yeah.
with the B plus.
Masahiro Tanaka and his pitch grips. It looks like he had a 7 weapon arsenal.
Right. The cutter is a form of a fastball. It's like a
toolbox to knock.
yeah.
It's like a fastball with a little slider mixed in.
I don't think he brought all those pitches in. He would probably drop the 2-seam fastball. I'll have to look at what Tanaka's arsenal was, but I think he was a 4-seam, a curve, slider, and a changeup kind of guy. But
The name rings a bell with me. Who did he play for?
he was a
Do you
Yankee.
know?
He was a Yankee at the tail
fair
end of
enough.
Ichiro's. I think they played together in New York at one point.
Okay. So this is like 2014.
Somewhere
Ish.
around there, yeah. What was another thing? Oh, and just finally, the changeup. The changeup, just so it's been said on the episode, the changeup is the slow down off-speed pitch. So if you've been throwing heaters at him, if you throw 3 4-seams, the psychology of baseball is you throw 4-seam, 4-seam, 4-seam. You want to get him out, change the speed because they've been clocking in that. Their cadence has gotten on your fastball, so change it up with the changeup. That's where the changeup comes from. Is
Yeah.
give him something different.
Is it sort of like?
It looks like a fastball.
Yeah.
From the perspective of a batter.
From the perspective of a batter, it looks like a fastball, but nobody wants to call it the slow
Yeah,
ball.
exactly.
In essence,
Effectively, yeah. So you've seen like 494 mile per hour fastballs come across the plate, and then this one looks like as it's coming directly towards you, it looks the exact same as that 94
oh yeah,
mile per hour
it's
fastball.
the mind game.
But it's
that pitchers
15
play.
miles
But
per hour
instead
slower.
It's
an
an
aggressively
80 mile
changed.
per hour
Yeah.
change.
Okay. All right.
It's something there to throw them off. I love
So I'm going to bring us back to a slide we have seen before, and it is the rarity chart in baseball. I brought this up during Felix Hernandez's perfect game, which was where was perfect? Perfect is here, and as we know, since there has been another perfect game, there's also
So there's now 24.
there's 24 now. There's also some other changes here. Hitting for the cycle has become 3, 3, 4. And no hitters. Oh boy. 3.
Wait, 3, 3,
It's gone down.
that's yeah. Is it 3, 4, 4?
Yeah.
3,
You
4,
guys
4?
get it. You guys
Yeah.
get it. You know how my brain
They-
works.
They robbed 5.
Yeah, they
dudes
took
of
them
the
away.
cycle.
They took them all away.
It was like,
That's
fuck you.
the baseball movie I want to see.
And so this was posted on Reddit. I should have given thanks to the poster by Jeff Banks Monkey. This was posted a year ago. So these numbers have just been from like the middle of last year up until this season now. But I don't think these have been affected yet. No one's had. Oh, actually, that's right. Baseball is so random. The Houston Astros were a winless team. They lost 5 or 6 straight games. Their first win, they did a no-hitter. It's insane. Baseball is just so random. All right, 24.
I feel like I've done 4 ground and double plays in a game at least 8 times playing
Yeah,
the show.
it feels like that.
It's so fucking
It
frustrating.
feels like that sometimes.
I feel like I've broken that record personally just playing the show.
Grand slam in your first at bat, though. How that must feel great, right?
Well, yeah, you could end your career right then
You should.
and be a legend.
Go out on a
It
high
isn't
note.
gonna get
That's
any better
it.
than
Does
that.
not get better than that.
The funny thing is, they still probably put you at only 1,000, right? You don't get an extra batting
no,
average.
you're-
You don't
yeah.
get a
No.
bonus, a
You're-
temporary bonus.
Your BA still is 1,000, which is amazing, but still only 1,000.
Ground in double plays. I know you probably don't want to get hung up
No,
on this
let's do it.
just because you mentioned doing so many in a video game, Taylor. But explain it, because ground in double play, somebody hits a grounder and then a double play is made off of that.
Occurs,
Seems would be very common.
But
Why isn't it common?
doing that 4 times in a game.
Oh, it's 4 of them. Sorry, I
You're-
was disregarding the first.
You're only guaranteed 3 at-bats as a batter.
And for all 3 of
In
your
any
at bats
given
to be
game.
squandered into 2 outs, that for you to create 8 outs in a game, it's insane. It's an insane number. It sucks. It's a bad feat. No one wants to be this guy, but two men have been that guy.
I
so
feel
double
like
play would be
I've
if
done that,
every
though,
time you've gotten up
digitally.
to bat, there's been a guy right here.
Oh, here I was viewing it as fielding, and I maybe did this also in
Oh.
your Felix episode. I was thinking it was a fielding record of like some guy, some pitcher ended up with 4 ground in double plays or something like that. But no, it's a batter absolutely shitting the
Yeah,
bed
4 times.
And he got a
4
he got,
times at bat.
He got a bonus at bat as well.
He got
And
his team.
still fucked it up.
He got his team 8 outs in
Yeah.
the bad way.
That will be an episode one day about this one Mariner that was called up, and he equated for like 6 outs, and he had a 0 batting average with like a negative WAR, and he only played that game, so his cemented career stats are that, and we'll have to get into that sometime.
He's never
Statistically
been
the worst
seen.
player.
Yeah.
He's a real estate agent now, I believe.
Did they make a baseball card of him?
Yeah, everybody gets a baseball
Yeah,
card.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what a double play is. And so there's one thing right here. If you remember, you know what it is. But if you don't, we'll just go to the next slide where it will reveal the most rarest thing that baseball has ever had to offer. 2 grand
5
slams
grand.
in a single inning.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah? Da, 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 da! Play the music.
Yeah.
Pretty hard to do.
Okay, I get it.
I mean,
Right.
You
the
would
pitch-
have to have the entire batting lineup go through twice.
you effectively have to have a baseball manager who just hates their pitcher
Oh yeah.
at this point, who's just looking to shame them publicly.
Well, this is just
That
this
or
is
you've
just
switched out. You've gone from bad to worse by switching out.
Well, Taylor, I will say this
Like,
does
you-
the stat only says this is an offensive one, 2 grand slams in an inning. It doesn't say off the same pitcher. It just says
It's
that
true.
everything went absolutely wrong in an inning.
It was just the worst inning for some Chicago White Sox fans.
Pitching
Just
crew
Yeah.
and the fan base, presumably.
radio pronounce. It was the worst day for the hot dog vendor too. It was just the worst inning of all.
And imagine if
Or the
it
best
wasn't
day,
at
'cause
home.
everyone
too.
was looking-
It was the worst for everybody in the stands. So
Everyone was looking to drown their sorrow in a glizzy.
they didn't stop selling beer at the 7th inning that game. It went all night.
They actually continued past the 9th inning. They just kept beer open.
So, what is a grand slam? Are we all on the
Okay.
same page of a grand slam? Because I believe the audience will need to be explaining this, so I'll just do a brief. A grand slam is when this base is occupied, this base is occupied, and this base is occupied. For the audio fans, that is first, second, and third base are occupied by runners because they have earned their way onto
Bases
those
are
bags.
loaded.
Yeah.
Bases are loaded.
You got 3 boyos, 3 of your own boyos looking at you at bat, and you manage to hit a home run, which takes all 4 of you in.
Yeah.
Instant 4 runs.
The highest scoring at bat play you could possibly make.
Doesn't
Yeah.
can't score more than 4 on a single swing. But that's exactly what you do. You hit it out into the stands. Or, there's been the case of an inside the park grand slam where the ball just doesn't get back to home plate fast enough and you're able to circle the bases. So that's what a grand
An
slam is.
infield grand slam.
Yeah, a little league grand slam is typically what they call them.
Has anyone smashed the ball off of a player and scored a grand
Oh my
slam?
For a
God.
grand
Like it
slam?
bounced off the glove of an outfielder.
For a
or the
grand
face of
slam,
Yeah, not to take
no,
it
I
back
don't
on-
think so. But for a home run, for sure.
but not in a okay. So it must. I don't want to take the slideshow all the way back to hitting a player off of a player is a home run.
Because it hasn't touched the ground yet.
But-
yes.
Yes, no, so that makes perfect
Yeah.
sense. But I assume 90% of the ones that have happened, it's like off of somebody's glove and goes over.
Oh, like 99.9% of the like ones that have hit a player. Yeah, it would be the glove.
Yeah,
It's not,
or like
it's not like somebody
flicks
just got
at the-
domed
it
in their,
barely
in
touched
their
the glass.
hat.
But that's another episode. And let me see if I can.
I don't think anyone's been smashed to the junk and it like, propelled itself so far and so hard off their cup that it then went into the stands.
For your viewing pleasures, this is the case of when one hit off of Jose Canseco's head and bounced over the wall as he was going for it. So that is
Jose
Oh.
Canseco, the pitcher.
that is a legendary one. Jose Canseco is not a pitcher. We've talked about this. Bounced off the head and into the.
You're so obsessed with hitting the pitcher and it.
He really wants to hit a pitcher to
I
get hit.
It's brutal.
Okay, so that's what a grand slam is. Let me get back to my notes here. It's the max potential for a home run, right?
Yeah.
And it's seizing the opportunity when it happens, because not every time you're not faced with a bases loaded opportunity often in your career. So when you are faced with it, it is a fascinating feat to be able to do it once, but then to have done it again 30 or so minutes later in the same inning, to be given the same opportunity and to hit it over the fence is an even more incredible feat to have occurred. So that brings.
It's also
Go
an
ahead.
Also an interesting statistic. Do you have like the statistic of like how many times that's ever been a possibility?
I do.
If it's one
Okay.
at bat compared to all
Right.
at bats.
No, I don't have every grand slam opportunity, but I do have 2 grand slams in a single inning opportunity, which we'll get to. We'll get to in a little bit. Without further ado, let's talk about hitting 2 grand slams in a single inning and talk about some of the characters that played a role in this, okay? So let's start with Fernando Tatis Sr. And just to save time, I put his Wikipedia stuff here, so you can kind of see
No, this is good.
he was an average
He
hitter.
moved around.
He 113 home runs career, 448. He moved around a little bit. He played for the defunct Montreal Expos, and
Who didn't?
started off with the Texas
We all
Rangers.
did.
Oh, yeah. The Expos are now the Washington Nationals. If nobody knew that they are no longer in Canada.
There's only one team,
Only one. Oh, Canada only has
they're-
one team now.
and they fucking show up whenever you play them.
If I wasn't a Mariners fan, I'd probably be a Blue Jays fan, a diehard Blue
Boo.
Jays fan, because they're still gonna let you down, just like the Mariners do.
I mean, they've got
Every
World
year.
Series victories, unfortunately.
They only have 2, and they did them back to back, much like Fernando Tatis
If
Sr.
only the
did.
Mariners were so
Hit 'em
fucking
back.
lucky.
Would you? Philosophical question. Would you rather have won 2 championships back to back and never win them ever again, or would you rather have never won them and have the
Do I
opportunity
get
to win them?
to be alive for the time that they won the 2 of them back to back?
Nothing's promised
Oh,
on that.
Well, I don't know. That greatly affects like my like.
Are you asking both of us or just Taylor on that?
No.
This is a
Both
good.
of us
This is
can
a
answer
good. This is a
this.
good
It's a
philosophical
bofa.
question.
If I was alive for the 2 back to back, yeah, fuck it, I'll take it.
Yep.
Um,
Absolutely. I would rather look back on good times on like a team I was watching at the time than not have any good times at all.
if that should happen 20 years before I was born,
No good times yet. If you, win 2 and never win ever again, or never have won one, but
you
there's
don't
a
know.
chance.
Dog, I'm
you
a
might.
Seattle
know
Seahawks
you're
fan.
never
I'm
gonna
living
win
that
again.
reality.
You don't.
And it's just one.
Yeah,
It's just
unfortunately, we
one.
only live in
Yeah.
one reality. of that.
And there's a possibility I'll never see one ever again. And I mean, I'm also ostensibly a Seattle Sonics fan, where they won one fucking a decade
Yeah.
plus before I was born, and now
Mm.
they don't exist anymore. So,
Big chance the Thunder might win it this
Fuck 'em.
year,
Yeah.
which would suck. Fuck them.
and
I'll say
whoever is playing the Thunder, I hope you win.
Yeah.
Just like the Miami Heat. a decade plus ago on the banana boat once again. But yeah, no, I'll take the shit that happens in my lifetime if it's guaranteed versus the possibility of more glory. I just want to see it happen. I want to feel good.
Okay, so Fernando Tatis Sr., he is marked down for playing 13 years, but really he had like two years off where he played in the Dominican Republic.
Might have been creating a son
He
during that time.
Yes, yes, around that time he was getting busy having a child. During his time in New York, he played left field and hit his first walk-off in 2008. So in the later of his career, after the Baltimore era was like nothing, and then you have 2003 to 2006 where he was just off fucking, I guess. But his first walk-off would happen in 2008, very late in his career, which is great. I mean, it's great to have some spark still, something left to do.
Oh, yeah.
He would replace Alex Rodriguez in the 2009 World Baseball Classic for the Dominican Republic. So he was still active at the late ages. So check this out. So his last team was the Mets in 2010, the last time he played in Major League Baseball. So 4 years later, 2014, he says, guys, I'm hanging him up. I'm retiring from the game of baseball. After 4 years of not playing, I thought that was a very professional move that, buddy, no one was calling. We retired you. You didn't retire. So that's Fernando. That's 1 star of our show today. And he hit 2 grand slams in a single inning.
Oh, he's the one?
So he's the guy. He's the guy. He's hitting that SOB, a piss missile that way. We're going to spend later on in this episode.
Run for their money.
He actually, Korean Air is selling seats on his balls. Like, that's how you're getting to where you're fucking going. You got to, like, saddle up and ride that baseball to your destination.
This is actually a pretty big image, although I did have to rip it from a YouTube video. But that's Fernando. He's hitting a piss missile. This is April 23rd, 1999. 13 dudes have hit a grand slam, 2 grand slams in a game. And one time, Nomar Garcia Parra did it against the Mariners. Yeah. Nomar did it against the Mariners in May 10th of 1999. But that was just in the same game. That wasn't the same inning. So, I mean, we've talked about what it takes for a grand slam to happen. And for it to happen twice in a game, only 13 dudes have been able to capitalize on that. For it to happen twice in an inning, we'll talk about that, how often that has occurred. And for all of it to happen within 30 minutes is pretty breathtaking. We're going to spend some time on this later on after I introduce some other people. But baseball is a losing sport, so I don't actually want to talk about Fernando Tatis. I want to talk about Chan-Ho Park, the man that is giving up this run, this grand slam. Because, Taylor, you're actually right. He gave up 2 grand slams in a single inning to Fernando Tatis Sr.
Oh, it's the
and
same
I think
guy?
that is the most notable thing.
Yeah,
They
It's
never
the same guy.
switched him out.
his fucking manager had
They
a
never
fucking
switched him
shame
out.
kink.
Was this guy sent out as like a sacrifice? Like you're the
Effectively.
you're the sacrificial lamb for the gods of baseball.
That's him watching it go. And no, he was the starting pitcher of the game. And it speaks to the leash and how good of a pitcher he was that his coach did not see this first grand slam happen and say, you know what?
I'm coming to
I
the
think I
mound.
should pull
I'm
my
coming
guy.
To the mound.
Yeah.
I need to get my guy out of there. I need to do this for my guy. I need to get him out
Zach,
of
you may or
there.
may not have an answer. To this. Did they at least have a talk? Did we at least get a? Did we
I don't
at
have
least
an
get
answer
a
for
TV
that.
Timeout? Did like the manager at least come up in his shiny nylon jacket
Also-
and like talk it out with
Yeah,
him
what-
a little bit?
What inning is this?
The awkward waddle from the
Yeah.
dugout, looking
Catcher's
upset and
coming
everything.
up.
I don't. I didn't actually.
You might have mentioned it, but what inning is this?
I didn't mention that. We're gonna
Okay,
get into
okay,
that.
okay,
We're
'cause
gonna get into that.
I'm wondering like how far in the game is this? Because I mean, from what I could see of the 8 pixels of disappointment on his face,
Yeah. Hey, that's $5 a pixel too,
he
buddy.
knows,
So
he knows he's like, well, that's it.
Yeah, that face says, "Oh fuck."
That face says, "Well, I'm gonna go sit
Yeah.
down, and somebody else is taking over this game."
All three of them just being like, yo. So let me introduce to you guys Chan-ho Park. Chan-ho Park is the first South Korean baseball player in the major leagues, in the Major League Baseball, I should say. He was an MVP 3 years at his high school, Gongju High School. He won 4 MVPs at his national prep tournament. And he won a silver medal at the Asian baseball games, which I didn't know were a thing. But I guess Asia gets together and they play. That's why I want to text you guys that one day, still upset that I didn't understand the Middle East was a part of Asia. It's because some of the Asian games were hosted in the Middle East. And I'm
Why
like,
the fuck is this happening in
doesn't
Jordan?
make sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, what? But so I guess they're baseball, much like the World Baseball Classic or the Olympics. They're just for baseball, just baseball, and Asian countries get to be represented by their best. Chan-ho Park was the best. He was so good. One of his teams was in a tournament in the United States. He came to Southern California to play in a tournament that I don't think they won, but he was still highlighted and he was still showcased. He was showcased to the American prospects, and 2 years later he would be signed into the Major League Baseball as a sophomore in college. So he was poor. He was a poor kid growing up. His parents didn't want him to play baseball. They thought that jocks were stupid. They wanted him to be a smart child. So unfortunately for them, his middle school days, it just took off. He had a heater of an arm, and teams were scouting him in Korea, so they couldn't stop him from playing baseball. It was just what his career path had to be, or that's, at least at the time, what the writing on the wall was. He had to play
Naturally
baseball.
talented,
So-
and also like putting in the work for it.
Well, there's also like this like dichotomy of like, if you're a poor family, maybe you don't want your son to like, or child to strictly focus on athletics, because like that may or may not become a fruitful prospect for them in the future. But there's this thing called scholarships that like will set them up to at least get a college education, which could set them up for a successful future outside of athletics.
So when he was being courted into the Major League Baseball, he had offers from the Yankees. He had offers from the Atlanta Braves. But when he was in Southern California, he got to witness his first Major League Baseball game. He was at Dodger Stadium, and he bought this L.A. Dodgers bomber jacket, the one that the pitchers wear when they're warming up or sitting in the bullpen waiting to come in. And so he signed with the Dodgers because he wanted to actually get one for real. He didn't want to wear the one that he wore as a child. He wanted to get a real one. So he signs. Look at this young boy. Just
how
what a
old
baby.
Is he like
17?
17, yeah.
He's 19.
Okay.
I believe at this time. Yeah. Well, let's see. He
Still young.
He was born 73. He debuted in 91. So he's 20 when he signs,
be
I
18.
believe. And he debuts in 1994. So he's still young, fresh baby face, and he's probably got a lot of zits, lot of greasy face stuff. And so when he is signed, I'm sorry guys, when he signed to the Dodgers, he is sent to the game immediately. He starts April 8th of 1994. I put that wrong in my notes. Of 1994, he comes in relief of a game that the Dodgers are being no hit in. So it's not a significant game.
He's not
at
just
all.
like
They're-
a relief pitcher for a year or anything like that. They just immediately go like, "Nope, you're our next star guy."
That's what you do with pitchers, young pitchers, is to give
Yeah, I
them
don't know this.
experience of the game. Yeah, I know. That's a good question, or it's a good, and so this is how we get to talk about it. Is young pitchers, you don't always bring them right up to the show. They have to have their time in AA, AAA, Single A, and to get a feel for how it is on the road, how it is to be out all night or out every night, and to go to a new town, new city, the travel of it, and then when they come to the major leagues, there's the pressure of being in front of 45,000 people. So you don't give them the start right away because the whole game can go awry if they have the yips, if they're scared. So you bring them in not inconsequential spots. You have them come in. You're getting blown out, or you're blowing somebody out. Bring in that young buck to see, like, give him some reps where the game's not going to get out of our hands. It's already been out of our hands. So that's what they do. That's what they do with the young pitcher. That's what he's done. That's what they did with him. They brought him up in April 8th to see, like, how he reacts to the crowd, how good of his stuff translates to American baseball. But then he was sent down to Double-A. Right away, he made his MLB debut. They got to showcase him in Dodger Stadium. He made the debut of the first Korean baseball player in the history of the game. And then he sat down in the minors for 2 more years before he got called up to the majors full-time to be a full-time starter. And that's what his job description was going to be, is I'm a starter. I'm not a relief pitcher. I'm a starter. And
arguably,
so
you want to, like, the biggest difference between, like, anything he had faced beforehand and this would be the quality of batter. It's like sort of an inverse relationship where they're like, whenever you're getting called up to the majors, if you're a batter, you're now up against, like, the best pitchers you've ever seen in your life. Like, you might have feasted in high school and college and in the minors off of, like, you know, wishy-washy talent, but now, like, you're facing nothing but the best. And same thing for pitchers. Like, none of the batters that you're throwing to are tomato cans. They're not bums. Like, everyone's good.
they're the real effing deal now. They're real life baseball players. So progressively he gets better. I think 1996 is his first full season starting with the team. 1997 he puts up a full season. I think he was like 14-8, and then 1998 he was 15-9. So he's winning games.
Is he standing out?
He's a good
is he
pitcher.
Making waves in this era?
Yes. Well, he making waves as one can do in, like, the era where Randy Johnson is a pitcher, Curt Schilling, and Roger Clemens, and those are names for the baseball people, but those are the Cy Young winners. He never wins an award for his time in baseball. He never wins a World Series. He never wins a Cy Young, but he is the second guy in the rotation. Which, you're not the ace if you're the second guy. You're the second best pitcher on the team at that
It's
point.
serviceable. Those are serviceable numbers. Like,
And I assume an absolute hero in South Korea.
oh yeah, for sure.
Yes, we will get to that too later on in the
But
slide.
also, did they give him the same numbers as Korea jersey from a slide ago?
Yes, I believe so. Let's go back.
Yeah, 61.
Yeah, his Korean baseball team, 61. How about that?
I mean, you see that a lot with like athletes
yeah.
where like they play with
They
a
have
number.
that number, and that number is associated with them, and they want to represent that number. And
Especially
if it's
the bigger-
available, then-
especially the bigger deal that they are.
Yeah. For Japanese pitchers, the number 18 is always connoted to the ace, the number 1 pitcher. So if you go through the books here, the last 2 Japanese pitchers the Mariners have had have worn the
say
number 18.
Cool.
Kikuchi and Iwakuma.
wore
Yeah.
18.
Yeah.
The bear.
Yeah. And now that new dude for the Doyers, Yamamoto, he's wearing 18 too. And Yu Darvish wears 18, another Japanese pitcher. Anyway, so let's move on to the year 1999.
Okay.
This is kind of a dead slide. There's really nothing here. I just wanted to put this sassy photo of him looking back at it with the double cheeked
yeah.
up.
Well,
Like,
he
I just
grew
really
goatee,
wanted
and
to
then
put
he
this.
also grew like a mullet.
I would
like,
say he took away the goatee and added it to the back, or vice versa. He either trimmed the mullet and then grew a goatee. He's versatile.
he's a chameleon.
Oh yeah, he can blend in anywhere. So this is Chan-Ho Park, and yeah, like I said, I just want to put this photo in here because of how the cameraman must have felt something. Like, he was probably focused in on
Doing
Chan-Ho.
Blue Steel.
He is doing Blue Steel. He was
That
focused.
could be Magnum.
He looks like a boss in a Yakuza game.
He looks like you just told him that his
The
omelet's
Dodgers
not
clan.
good. What did you say? My omelet's not good?
Nani?
Nani? Okay, so that's Chan-Ho. So let's get back to 1999. April, what did I say? April 23rd. April 23rd.
April 20th, 420. Oh, fuck.
April 23rd, 1999. All right. Fernando Tatis comes up to bat with the bases loaded. And
Okay.
He looks just terrified to be there.
you're right.
He has seen a ghost.
Well, Taylor, this graphic tells us so much about what could be going through his head. Is that he has faced the bases loaded situation 21 times in his career, and he's been in the league for he's playing for the St. Louis Cardinals, the second team he played for. So he's been in the league for a bit of time. I would say, let's go.
Cup of coffee.
Let's go back to Fernando here. He started in 1997. So this is 1999. This is his third full season in the league. And
Okay.
he's faced bases loaded situation 21 times. 5 of those times have resulted in something good. He's gotten on base, which comes to a percentage of .238 times that situation comes up. He's going to put the ball in play and get a hit. But of
barely
those
above.
situations, those 21 times, 0 have been a home run. 0 of those times have been a home run. So he's looking up there and he's like, 21 times I've come up here and I have not hit a home run. I've got to be due, right?
And this is just his stats with bases loaded, right?
Just
it's the
bases
kind of
loaded,
thing where,
yeah.
where that home run stat is like it's a grand slam stat. He's never gotten a grand slam.
Never gotten
Ever in his
exactly.
life.
Exactly.
He's batted in 16 runners whenever he's come up to
That's
bat.
not
with
bad.
bases
He's
loaded.
gotten some points, but then you're looking at 3 walks and 8 strikeouts. So it's
But
kind of
this-
like, well, he's walked and somebody is that. I guess that's not a runner batted in if they're walked.
So it is. So 3 of the 16, we should make that 13 because 3 of those came from him just standing up there and taking a walk. Because you get an RBI, you the batter get an RBI because the pitcher walked you. If there's nowhere for you to go, you have to go to first base, and everybody has to move. You get the stat of a run batted in, even though you didn't bat that run in. But he has faced 8 strikeouts, which would mean out of the 21. So a fun side note, walks don't count as at-bats. If you get walked, it doesn't count. So it's actually probably
Oh,
24
interesting. Okay.
times he has been
okay.
faced with this situation. The three of them have been walks, so they don't count as
29
at
times
bats.
he's been
Okay.
to the plate with the bases loaded.
But if you're getting
5 times something
Yeah.
good happened.
24,
Well, no,
24.
Wouldn't it be
24. No, it's 5 of 20. 5 of 24. 5-4. 5-4, 24.
Yeah. But out of
It's
24 total
it's the
times,
full
you've brought in
opportunity here.
You brought in 16 Boyos home. If we're gonna go just big numbers, like not
Yeah.
bad. I don't think that's bad.
238
That's a good. You want
No.
a Tatis when you're up, like when you have bases loaded. Like he's not a superstar.
I would believe in this guy. I'd believe in this guy a lot more than, I mean, the number, if you average a 25% chance of getting a hit, you're great. He's over 25% chance. He's 237,
You're above
238.
the Mendoza line.
So that's
Yeah.
which
it's
is
good. Yeah. 250.
200, right?
Or Mendoza's is it 250? It's probably 200. Yeah, it's probably 200. Okay, so in this game, Chan-Ho Park is making his fourth start of the season. He's given up.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the pitcher now. He's given up 10 runs in the 17 innings that he's pitched. His ERA is at 5.29 coming into this game. So that means over the course of 9 innings, he's going to give up 5.29 runs. It's not legitimately how you can translate it, but he's not going to pitch 9 innings and he's not going to give up 5.29 runs. But that's just kind of how you look at the stat. He's struck out 16 of the 74 batters he's faced so far the year, and the Dodgers are 8-9, and the Cardinals are 10-5. So as we can see, Fernando Tatis Sr. has never hit a home run with
this
the
is also
bases
the Mark
loaded.
McGwire years.
We've talked about
Isn't
how
it?
one out
Also
of
for the Cardinals.
yes, this is. Oh, Mark's coming
hell
up.
yeah.
Mark is actually on base, I
But to
believe.
play in that show,
A
'cause
fellow-
even a layman like me, like if you're on the Mark
Yeah.
McGuire team.
A fellow October 1st birthday.
Oh.
Yeah, me and
Oh, really?
Mark McGuire
That's
and I are in the October
fantastic.
1st club. Fun fact, that's
So this game takes place at Dodger Stadium in
Okay.
Los Angeles, right? And in the first inning, Chan-Ho Park only faced 4 batters. He gave up 1 hit, struck out 2, and Fernando Tatis grounded out. So this is Fernando's second at bat in the 3rd inning. But to finish, I guess I have other notes here. The Dodgers go up 1-0, go up 2-0 in the 2nd inning. So we're gonna fast forward to the 3rd inning, the top of the 3rd inning, because the away team always bats to start the inning. This is the first dinger. What has occurred to lead up to this is Darren Bragg, Edgar Renteria, who you can see in this bottom image here, and Mark McGuire all get on base. Edgar Renteria was hit by a pitch, and Mark singled, I believe, and Darren Bragg singled as well. So Fernando Tatis comes up to bat. He does the thing we're talking about. Boom goes the dynamite, grand slam.
Okay.
And then after that, the Cardinals are up 4-2 against the Dodgers. Chan-Ho Park has to dust it off, go back to his mechanics, and unfortunately, he walks the next batter. Placido Polanco walks, Joe McEwings walks, and then Jose Jimenez, the pitcher, because this is at a time when pitchers
These are
batted
two
in the National League.
teams.
Yeah.
Fun little thing. These are 2 National League teams played in a National League park. So Chan-Ho Park, if he were to come up to bat in the next inning, would be the batter.
Tells me he might not get the chance.
But
Something tells me a lot's gonna happen before you can get up to bat. But this is the first Grand Slam, 3rd inning.
this is the first Grand Slam.
Yeah,
That's what we've already. Yeah, we've already talked. Darren Bragg, Edgar Renteria, Mark McGuire. Oh, then I he did not walk the next batter. I put my brackets in wrong. The next batter was J.D. Drew, who grounded out.
Okay,
So we have one
so
out
it's-
in the inning.
Good
One
job,
out,
Mark.
giving up a grand
Hey,
slam.
good job,
Four.
Mark.
Hey, we're finally we're moving
That
it
is
in
the
our
literal
direction now.
definition
You know,
of a silver
we're
lining. Like, well, we got a ground out.
yeah. And what follows a silver lining? A solo home run by Eli Marrero. So now it is 5-2
And the Dodgers
Cardinals.
manager is asleep in the clubhouse, Ken Griffey style, I presume, at this point in time.
It is only the 3rd inning, and you want your pitcher to go deep into the game. And a guy like Chan-Ho Park, 2 years in the league, 2 full, beautiful previous seasons, you believe that he can get out of it. I'm not the Chan-Ho Park expert. I'm only telling a story
also
in his
assume,
life.
yeah.
But I would believe that there's been so many opportunities where in fact, I did see later on, he gives up a lot of runs in games, and then he gets pulled. It might just be a way like they give him a long leash, and because he's a good pitcher that can get out of
my theory
situations.
is here. Manager's asleep in the clubhouse. Manager is on the dugout phone with his wife, and they are about to engage in a very messy divorce. So he is not paying attention to what's going on the field.
You have like some assistant bursting through the door, just being like, excuse me.
He's given up 5 runs.
Excuse me.
He's given up 5 fucking runs at this point.
Sir, have you noticed it's really quiet in here because the crowd is not cheering for anything?
My third.
Did you hear
theory-
the air escape the room as that
My-
grand
my-
slam?
My big thing of this is, I mean, you've mentioned it, Zach. 3rd inning.
3rd inning.
Like it's early enough to where it's like they got a lucky one on us. Everything's good. I mean, have we gotten our pitcher's perspective on these events at all? Like,
No.
Like, is he having an absolute like breakdown on the mound, or is he just like, well, okay, they got a lucky one on me, so we'll just keep on trying?
Yeah, I want to
Keep
believe
on
that.
trucking.
Is that he just had to pick himself back up again. So then we hear that he gives away 2 walks to Polanco and McEwings. Jose Jimenez, the pitcher, does the typical pitcher move and goes for a bunt because the pitcher was almost a guaranteed out. They would either strike out or they would hit the ball somewhere that, a minor leaguer would not hit to, and boom, they're easy out. But this pitcher hits a bunt and gets on first in an error.
Oh, damn.
Everybody moves. Everybody moves 90 feet. It is now 6-2 Cardinals. Edgar Renteria singles to right field. It is now 7-2 Cardinals. And then up comes Mark McGwire. Mark McGwire
he's
had the
back.
possibility to hit himself a grand slam in that inning that Fernando Tatis hit a grand slam previously in. But Mark, loose Mark, he flies out to
Full
right
of
field.
juice.
So then batting next in the order, batting cleanup the 4 spot would be Fernando Tatis Sr. And to spoil it, Mr. President, a second grand slam has been hit in the inning.
Excuse me, you gotta quit reading your donkey book. Like, excuse me, Mr. Dodgers, Mr.
It was
Dodgers
a
manager.
It was a book about goats, but
At what point? Yeah.
So Fernando comes up with the bases loaded, and he hits a grand slam for the second time in the game. He's the only person to
The
have ever
North
done this
Tower.
to this day. And would you believe it? That was Chan Ho Park's last pitch in that game.
oh,
His face says it all. His Home Alone ass face says everything to me.
someone finally woke the manager up, or they finally got a hold of him on his 1999 Nokia cell phone, as he was presumably driving drunk from the park to get a pack of smokes, and they're like, "Hey, this guy just keeps giving up grand slams. Can we pull him?"
Nah, let him. What's the worst he can do? Give up a second grand slam to the same guy?
It is also nice that you have what I assume is also part of a TV broadcast that zoomed in on his face. Like, I've never seen a person's soul die.
Yeah,
That's
live
Yeah.
in slow motion.
that's
Also,
Yeah.
who was the manager of the Dodgers at the time? Vince fucking McMahon.
I believe it was Joe Torre.
Close enough.
So to answer your question from earlier, there have been 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 players to have been given the opportunity to hit 2 grand slams, having hit one of them already in a single inning.
That's wildly irresponsible managership. Like,
Well, this is speaking on the batters, perhaps on the batters end. This
Yeah.
I believe within my heart, Chan Ho Park is the only pitcher. Well, he is the only pitcher to have given up 2 grand slams. But yeah, I'm thinking about what you said. You're right. It is bad on the manager's part that game gets to be so out of hand that 2 grand slam opportunities are 1 apparent in an inning, 2 by the same person in an inning.
if you
Yeah.
have a pitcher who has already given up a grand slam, and then the batter who has previously hit a grand slam off of him is up to bat in
With
that
another
same fucking
probability.
inning, and you still have that pitcher in there.
Well, so
you're
that's
a
what
bad
that's where I want to
manager.
clarify is I think Chan Ho Park is the only pitcher out of this whole list I have that would be the same pitcher for both grand slam opportunities.
Okay,
but
okay.
still bad
Fair
management
enough.
that your
Yeah.
inning gets to go that far. But I don't think any of these players except for Fernando Tatis, it was 1v1 part 2.
I think
but
he's having like Korean Little League flashbacks at this point, where he played on the equivalent of the
Probably not.
Marlins.
He probably fucking pitched no hitters in Korean Little League.
yeah, oh dude, he
now
probably
he's up
crushed.
against like a big Dominican batter.
But everyone, of course, extended to sports, every player can have that bad day.
Oh, for
where
sure.
everything falls apart on you, and you're still trying to pull yourself through, but just nothing. You're having the worst day you've ever had, statistically at sports. And this poor 20-year-old had to face that, which is usually only reserved for like 5-year-olds.
think he was like a 24-year-old at this point in time,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
still pretty brutal.
Yeah. So on this list, you have some old time baseball guys. I won't go into them, but there's a Mariner on here. Raul Ibanez in 2008 had an opportunity in the 7th inning against the Twins, and he ended up getting a single instead of a grand slam.
I mean, that's still dope, though.
Yeah.
He's still in the same inning, of course.
In the same inning, yep.
Don't get me wrong, the Mariners probably found a way to lose that fucking game.
But it was a dope inning.
Which is hilarious because the Cardinals found a way to lose this game too.
Oh, shit,
for
really?
real?
Yep.
After scoring 8 runs off of one dude in one inning?
Yes. The
Holy
score,
shit.
the
Fuck.
game. I believe the score was 11-10.
God
Dodgers.
damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Son of a bitch.
But so this isn't even it, guys.
Okay.
So what's that classic line from Batman? Why do we fall? It's so we can learn to pick ourselves back up again.
Get back up again.
Master
Yeah,
Bruce.
Yeah. The size of a tangerine. Yeah, we all
George
saw
of a Tangerine. Tell them to put
Well,
their
I'll
own
make
damn
these.
lotion on. Okay, so how do you bounce back from giving up 11 runs in a single inning of baseball?
You sit your butt down on the grass and you take yourself some good thinking time as
Yeah,
you stare out at 40,000 people yelling at you.
A's making another feature in the
Oh.
show. I didn't realize that.
This is just a different time he was absolutely nationally embarrassed. But also, I mean, like, if you're going to fuck up in a sports city, LA's probably one of the better ones to fuck
Oh,
up
yeah.
in because nobody's from there and nobody gives a shit about their sports teams.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you do not want to fuck up that hard in, like, a city like Philly.
Oh yeah, where
Or
the
New York.
city and the sports team are so interconnected.
Kansas City,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Milwaukee, like Detroit, like a city where like people have been there for fucking 6 generations.
LA is like a patchwork of all the other teams.
Yeah, it
and
doesn't-
then also we have local teams because
It just doesn't fucking matter if in LA though, because like nobody's fucking from there, so they don't give a shit about the sports teams. You do not want to do that in an area of the United States where like the sports team is the only thing keeping the local population away from like full blown
complete anarchy.
burning
Yeah.
the fucking like city down.
So how does he bounce back from this after 11 runs in an inning and gets pulled in the second or the third inning of a game? The next start, he gives up 2 runs. Pretty good bounce back. I mean, you don't have the yips.
How many?
The next game, that's a fantastic question. You almost got me. I have the chart right here in my notes.
I'm sorry.
You're
like
almost-
did
you
they go
almost
easy on
effing
him?
got
It's just
me.
kind of like you're only in for 5 innings in this next game. Like
I mean, like they're gonna
6.2. So he got into the 7th
okay.
inning with 2 outs. 7th inning
that's
with 2 outs.
respectable
yeah,
start.
no, that's a
deep.
that's a good
That's deep.
comeback.
That's a good start.
The next game, he gives up 0 runs. He throws a shutout in 7-hole inning, so he gets pulled in the 8th inning of that contest. But this
a
becomes a
quality
theme
start.
Yeah.
in his. This becomes a theme in his career. He would give up 7 runs in 6 innings. He gave up 9 runs to the Giants in about 5 innings. And you'll see these spackles of you don't know if Chan-Ho Park is going to give you a 1 or 2 run game or if he's going to give 7 to 9 runs in a game.
I
You start
believe
to
the
see this
sports
more on his
term
stat
is,
sheet.
is choke. You don't know if he's gonna choke or if he's gonna do pretty fucking good.
I do want to be fair to Chan-Ho Park, and like let's put this in a little bit of perspective here. This man was pitching during the steroid era of baseball, like where motherfuckers were just on the gear and cracking dingers. So, he might have done a little bit better 5 years later.
Taylor, put a pin in that one.
All right, fair enough.
So in baseball, I don't know if there really is a term, but I want to refer to another sport for this next slide, which is get up or get out of the way. And that's referring to when you have a player with a full head of steam and it's only you standing in between him and the basket. You either want to jump and foul him and make it so that ball doesn't go in, or you want to just let him do it. Make a business call. Like, you don't want to take the charge. You don't want to take that action. You don't want to be caught on someone's poster. That's what makes basketball the coolest sport, and I love the back and forth of basketball, is these two can go up against each other the rest of the game and do this all night. In baseball, the pitcher doesn't bat anymore, so your lead defensive player doesn't get to be a part of your offense, and your offense is relying on maybe only a few. But in basketball, all of your offense and all of your defense are the same people. So this,
More often than not.
in the game of basketball, and in the game of every sport, you want to be Anthony Edwards here. You do not want to be Yuta Watanabe, which I think he was one of the highest drafted.
His name's Utah.
Yuta, Y-U-T-A.
No, Yuta.
Yuta.
Not Utah. Okay.
Yeah, Yuta. Yuta
He
man.
wasn't named. He wasn't named after the state founded by Mormons. He's UTA.
It all depends on pronunciation on that one.
I mean, Yuta Wheeler, the
Yeah.
AEW wrestler, like that, not like Utah, the state
Yeah.
where they serve near beer.
It's the Texas rubbing off on Zach. He's
A little bit.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm going to start saying Gemini. Just saw that new Will Smith movie, Gemini, man.
They finally got it in Texas.
Oh, what a great fucking reference! I haven't thought about
What
that
a
movie
ball.
in like.
You ain't
6
thinking
years.
Gemini, man. So yeah, you want to be Anthony Edwards, not Yuta Watanabe.
Yeah,
But
you want to be
this
scoring
this
the points,
is
not getting.
this
his
is a
foul put
welcome
on.
to the league kind of moment when you get put on someone's poster like this, someone's very impressive feat that they have done with their own talents. You don't want to be the guy in there. That's called being posterized, right? I think I've already said that.
You never
You've
want to be the
mentioned
guy who has the nuts in his face.
No.
As someone else is like having a career moment.
You don't want to look like the one who's getting their ass kicked in somebody else's big promotional picture.
I think the modern term of
you're
it
the
is like-
silhouette on the Nikes of getting.
I mean,
You don't want to be
five-
clipped.
run
You don't
over.
want to be in someone else's Twitch stream clip. You know what I mean?
yeah.
5 people failed to lead to this moment, but you're the only one captured in this shot.
Oh, absolutely. In the good shot.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So it's a real fool me once, shame on you. So, actually, reverse. Fool me. That's right. Fool me once, shame on you. But fool me twice.
Ain't never gonna get fooled again.
Fool can't
Yeah.
get fooled again.
Can't get
is
fooled
what
again.
We learned.
George Bush makes another appearance in the episode. You don't want to be on someone else's poster again. It's kind of a moment. Wheeler,
Mr. President,
sorry,
a second
not Wheeler.
layup, but
Yeah, I was going to put the Mr. President slide in here again, but Mr. President, Yuta Watanabe has been a part of somebody else's poster again.
Unfortunately for Brooklyn this time.
Unfortunately, because he has been quite the journeyman. He was in Brooklyn at this point. So we got dunked on. And to a degree, this is kind of what Chan Ho Park's career is. As we go to the next slide, to 2001.
Uh-oh.
Lots happening in 2001, guys.
a
A lot, especially in
I already
couple
wasted my
Ls in
9/11
September.
joke. I already wasted my 9/11 slide. So this was the last slide I did too, because I was like, what do I do for 2001? How do I introduce 2001 without putting them two tall boys on the screen? For Chan Ho Park, this is the only All-Star season he will have. And it's the All-Star game that happened in Seattle.
Hell yeah,
Oh.
I've got a pint glass commemorating this.
Fuck yeah, dude. I was at that spring training thing at Safeco Field. Did I tell you guys about that? There was like
you might have mentioned it.
there was like a fan appreciation event, and they were trying to sell inaugural game tickets for like $200. Just the stub, which I have. I have mine because I was at that game. Not to toot my own horn, but I was at the
And-
first game at Safeco Field.
Correct. Yeah. 2001 was the first season at
No, 99 was the first season.
99. Okay.
They got rewarded with like, hey, you built a new stadium, so we'll give you an
Yeah.
all-star game.
Gotcha.
But it's going to be a little bit because we've already told other cities they will get an all-star game.
Yeah, and it's one of those, like FIFA and the Olympics. The All-Star has its own set of requirements a city needs to reach before they can get it.
It's not quite
Same
as
with
wild
the Super
as
Bowl.
an
I think
NBA
is the
all-star.
right. Oh,
weekend.
which they just released the formal. They just released the formal asks to host a NBA All-Star game, and it's like the city has to have 10 5-star hotels within 0.5
Oh,
miles
wow.
of the facility. They have to take over one of the colleges or something for training. All kinds of
This is some
incredible.
city skylines fucking achievement shit. You gotta have X,
Dude,
Y, and Z.
They should put that in. An all-star weekend boost to your economy. That'd be great.
If you can build a city capable of earning an all-star weekend,
So, in 2001, this might be the most challenging
Uh-oh.
career for Chan Ho Park because he's playing in the NL West. And the NL West, he was a part of one of the better teams, but the World Series champions would come from the NL West. That would be the Arizona Diamondbacks, who had Luis Gonzalez, Craig Counsell, Tony Womack, Reggie Sanders, not Deion Sanders.
Any relation?
No.
Okay.
In Colorado,
play
there
baseball.
was the prime of Todd Helton, which people call Mr. Rocky. There's Juan Uribe and Jeff Cirillo. Those are some notable hitters. The Padres were in the prime of Tony Gwynn. Mr. Padre, the guy, when you think of the Padres, you think of him. And then you
That
had
dude.
the Giants, who had Jeff Kent and one Bernard Bonds.
I know
Barrel.
this guy.
Good
Everyone
old Barry.
knows this guy.
Everybody knows Barry. Barry and what we're going to talk about will have their own kind of episode. But Barry coming into 2001, he had hit 49. Actually, we'll talk about Barry in a second. I want to move to something else really quick, if you guys don't mind. We'll come back to Barry, okay? To talk
enough.
about
Alright.
to talk about Barry completely, we have to talk about somebody else, and that would be wrong screen. That would be Mark McGuire,
Yeah.
who
I know all these
was,
guys from Backyard Baseball.
Yep, who was teammates with Fernando Tatis in St. Louis during the 2 Grand Slams in a single inning. But most importantly,
Yeah.
it was a year earlier. Mark McGuire had hit 70 home runs in a single season, which set the record in Major League Baseball for the most home runs by a player. There was a time when him and Sammy Sosa were going back and forth to see like who's going to break the record, who's going to break the record. They're definitely going to do it. When's it going to happen? And then Mark McGuire just stood on a tower all by himself.
just absolutely loaded with trenbolone.
Yeah. But before all the awards and everything are revoked and the entire steroid scandal is sort of blown wide open, this is a baseball god.
Exactly.
Yeah,
This is
of
somebody
our
who,
childhood, yes.
This is somebody who you couldn't escape from like any advertisement.
He was a star. He was an absolute, and he played in the beer city of St. Louis too. It was a fantastic time to be a superstar in baseball, and he was the guy. I mean, notably, he wears
Right.
the 2.5, much like Barry wears the 2.5. That's not a coincidence or anything.
Right next to the corporate headquarters of Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah.
So the record before that was set by Roger Maris at 61 in the year 1961, and before that, it was Babe Ruth with 60 in the year 1927. So it's a record that is hit generationally. Not often do you see it happen 3 years after it had already been broken. And we've seen it. In this case, Mark broke it with 65, and then he broke it with 70, and then Barry is going to break it too. All within 5 years of themselves. That's a red flag, is it not?
Not necessarily.
I mean, if you're blind towards the performance like enhancing drugs, you could say that the game is like evolving. Now our world is interconnected in such a way where you can, recruit the best players and things like that, and really train them well. Your 90s are your technological age and sort of a deal. So, if you were completely blind to any sort of steroid abusage or anything like that, like,
I would also
like not a red flag, but
I would also make the argument to somewhat like hide my hand from a future episode I'm going to do that's not Toyota related of the 4-minute mile.
Right. And yes, we've talked. We'll save it, but yeah, I hear what you're saying with that. So, Mark is a god in baseball at this point. So that's what makes Mark important to this, and what makes Barry even more important is he's about to set a record that, well, till this day, not to spoil it, is still unbroken. And it was a record that for a long time, like I said, generationally, was unbroken. So, circling back to Barry, 2001 will be the season he hits 73 home runs. And it is unfortunate.
That's the most.
That's
ever.
where we're at. Unless you're playing MLB
There's
The
an
Show,
asterisk,
Yeah. But
I don't have a slide for that, but let's bring up the asterisks later on in the episode after we've gone through a little of the stuff.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I don't want to forget because I didn't put a slide in about that, which I should have. I really should have. So, what is a fortune for Barry Bonds? It's like October 5th. It's the end of the season. The season's been extended because something crazy happened in New York. I don't know if you guys heard about it. Two planes crashed into two
plane
towers.
hit a tower. Yeah.
What?
Mr. President.
So they extended the season, and Barry came back. It was the 20th. They restarted the season on September 18th, and on the 20th he hit his first home run, and I think he went back-to-back games on that, where he hit a home run. And then onward, he picked up where he left off. He was hitting piss missiles into McCovey Cove. His fortune is also very unfortunate because one of our friends, found themselves at the park that day, and that would be Chan Ho Park. Chan Ho Park ends up being the pitcher to give up the 71st home run to Barry Bonds, making him stand alone as the home run leader to this day. This game takes place on the October 5th. So he had hit a home run October 4th. And the Dodgers bat first because they are the away team. And they put up 5 runs in this game, or in that first inning. Chan Ho Park himself actually gets 2 RBIs because pitchers batted. So he laid down a single and two runs across the plate. They took out.
I mean, to be fair, this is like any pitcher at this point in time. Like Chan Ho Park was just, I guess, a lamb to the slaughter at this point.
Yeah.
Anybody who goes up against a Bonds, a McGuire, it's sort of expected.
It's truly you're just rolling the dice. It's a when, not if kind of thing. So the Dodgers actually push the Giants pitcher out. He gives up 3 runs and 2 outs, and they pull that pitcher. So that's on the flip side of what we've seen with Chan Ho Park's leash, where he can give up 11 runs, 9 runs, 7 runs in a game. This pitcher, Sean Estes, he only gives up 3 runs in the first inning, and the pitcher's like, no, we got to put an end to this. We got to stop the bleeding. And then the next pitcher proceeds to give up 2 more runs before the inning's over. But that brings us to Barry. That brings us to Bernard here. I believe he's batting third in the lineup, and he's got a 1-0 count. And Chan Ho Park puts it right about here, where Barry feels free to swing.
Right down the middle.
Yeah.
Right
And
down.
if I,
Couldn't have put it any better.
he's playing catch with the catcher.
If
at
I could
this
reference
point.
something, like there have been simulations like Secret Base, the YouTube sports channel, a descendant of Sports Nation blog, has like done like a simulation of like what if nothing
Yeah.
was in the spot of Barry Bonds? Like, what if just like nothing happened based off of, like his walk percentage? Like, how valuable would be sending just like a bat floating in the air, and it was still like better than the league average
Yep.
on terms of like a walk percentage in terms of WAR rating.
Well,
There's-
that
there's-
and this is the first pitch, right, Zach?
This is the second pitch.
This is the second pitch. So the first pitch, I assume, was a ball. Just
No,
Yeah.
it's a heater.
oh, it was a heater.
No, it's
Okay.
a 1-0 count.
Okay.
Okay.
It was a
Oh,
one- This one is a heater. This one's
Okay.
direct express mail right to the zone, dude. Yeah, it was the first pitch was a ball. It's a 1-0 count, and then so Chan-Ho probably feels the urge as a pitcher to remind him that I can throw strikes. So he's going to put one in
Yeah.
the zone, and hopefully, it's on a 1-0 count. This is what Barry was really good at. Is not only did he get a lot of intentional walks, he earned a lot of walks too by taking 4 balls. Pause. By taking 4 balls as they would come in a pitch count, riding up a pitch count. So he lets the first one go. It's a ball. The patience of a batter is to see, well, this guy is probably going to try to throw outside the zone again for me to swing and miss. So let's see what he does. Barry Chan-Ho Park calls that bluff that the batter would think he's gonna throw outside of the zone. Instead, he's gonna go counter to that. He's gonna throw it in the zone and make you look like a fool because you were gonna sit on a pitch. A 1-0 count is almost definitely sitting on a pitch to see what's next. Worst case scenario, it's gonna be a strike, and then you still got one more strike
1-1.
before you have to
Yeah.
start hitting fouls. So instead of that, Chan-Ho zigs, and Barry zigs with him, and he hits a banger, just right out
cracks
there.
the dinger.
Cracks
And
the
this
dinger.
is number 700 for
71. 71 in a single
71.
season.
In a season.
71
not
in
career.
a season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for Barry's streak here, I have some. As I was looking at these numbers, I made my own little fun parallels to find. 18 times. There were 18 back-to-back games he hit a home run. So that's 36 of the home runs occurred within a night of each other.
Easy to turn a blind eye because you're getting seats. Hey, they won last game. Like,
Yeah.
come on back. See another Barry Bonds home. He's home running every single game, practically.
This is
But
a
that does
discussion
kind of
that
create a
has-
paradox, doesn't it? Like if Barry Bonds homered last night, so he's always homering in back-to-back games. So I should go to the next game, and if he homers again, well, Barry Bonds homers in back-to-back games. He'll probably homer on the next game because the stats show it. It's an interesting paradox.
I mean, there is sort of a, like, with the whole steroid era argument of baseball, of like, you still have to be a good batter
of
to
course,
what I
of
say.
course.
to crack so many dingers. Like,
Yeah.
you still have to be like, you still have to have a good hand-eye coordination and be able to read a pitcher to be able to like get those dingers. The juice, the gear that you're on,
Yeah.
certainly helps get you those 15 to 25 extra feet that you need to stop a pop fly being a home run.
Yeah.
That's like a big fucking component of like the steroid era of baseball. But you still actually have to be a talented batter to like make that shit work. There's a lot of dudes who were on gear during this time who weren't good batters who we don't really fucking know about.
Oh yeah, of course. Overshadowing everything else. I'm still of the dark cynic belief of you should have somebody as much as like the American Football League in your 90s, 2000s just done, hey, we're doing the steroid league. If you're removed from baseball, here we go. Here's our small baseball league of like, nope, performance enhancing drugs are okay.
Oh yeah,
Talking about the XFL.
In essence, yeah.
the
in
all
a way.
juice Olympics to see what these bodies
Yeah.
can do.
Yeah.
I mean, Vince McMahon also owned that. It was called like the Bodybuilding World Championship, and
It's
it was
disgusting.
It was
but,
the one league where they weren't juicing because of all the time that Vince McMahon had to do in front of Congress due to pro wrestling.
So also during this, what would end up being 73 home runs for Barry, there was 4 streaks of 4 straight games that I included in the 18 back-to-back games. There was a time he hit 3 home runs against the Braves, and in that Braves
In one
series,
Yeah, at home or away?
I believe in Atlanta.
Uh-huh.
But
And
in one game, or
in one game,
like
yeah.
a series.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
then
yeah,
the set follow-up stat to that, in that 5-game streak, he homered 6 times in that 5 games that they were playing in Atlanta. Incredible.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
So pitching wise, on the 73 home runs, 5 pitchers have given up 2 home runs to Barry Bonds in the same game. And Chan-Ho Park
That seems
would
shockingly
be the
low.
6th. Chan-Ho Park will be the 6th one by giving up the 72nd home run to Barry Bonds in the 4th inning of the same game.
This guy can't win. I mean,
It's the year in which you play.
Yeah.
but at the same time, I mean, I know it's a focus of the episode. But
Yeah.
There's a lot of
It's the
pitchers
story
10
I'm
years
telling,
ago who
the,
would have
it's
just
the
given up a
storytelling.
double.
The world is shitting on this guy right now.
He's getting beat up.
He's on the other side of so many records.
He
He
is in the poster
he should
for
start
so
doing-
many moments in baseball.
You should get on the gear. You could throw 105.
So this was a 1-1 pitch. So they played that game of chicken again, and this one was a changeup, dead red, high in the zone, but right center, and Barry had no choice but to swing at it, and he barely put it over the fence, but it did go.
Hit it with the sweet spot of the bat.
Chan-Ho would finish the rest of that inning and the next inning, giving up 3 more runs total in the game, and then
Once
he's
again,
pulled at the end of the
They
4th
kept
inning.
him in.
Negligent manager.
I mean, you want to give the guy a shot to redeem himself, but there's a certain point where you've done so many colossal fuck ups where like just don't leave him in another couple innings.
Well,
I'm not against Chan-Ho. I'm against the fucking dude
Yeah.
in the nylon jacket.
I
who's
feel
not
for
paying attention.
Chan-Ho.
Yeah.
Like just barely off like left field.
What is another thing to remember, though, is one, if you pull your player right after they did a boo-boo, it psychologically changes them, too, that they don't think that they have
Yeah.
the chance to come back from what happened. Yes, they should understand when the bleeding needs to stop and we need to put a bandage on this wound, but at the same time, they want to dress it themselves. They want to be man enough to be able to get out of the ending. They think that they got enough stuff to get themselves out of the situation, and there's the balance between the coach, between skipper and pitcher, on when do I have to step up and be the boss, and when do you give me? There's got to be a body language read too. Like if you can see the mechanics in this guy are just giving off pitches, and it's both ways. Barry Bonds gets paid too. Chan-Ho gets paid. Barry Bonds gets paid. Sometimes you just have to, like you're saying, Taylor, you're going up against the era that you're pitching in, and those are some beefy boys doing some
Yeah.
beefy stuff.
A lot of Trenabin going on in the time.
But that actually is where I kind of wanted to go further into this episode. I made it a little bit long, but I want to talk about a Venn diagram of things we've talked about so far in this episode. A Venn diagram, right? So I want to start with Fernando Tatis Sr., your classic Venn diagram. It's been a long time since we've seen one of these in practicality.
Yeah.
You
Are
have-
we going to acknowledge his son at all?
we're going to
Did
get there.
Junior do anything?
okay.
For this Venn diagram to work, I have to include his son, unfortunately.
Okay, thank God.
Fernando Tatis Sr., we have Mark McGuire, and we have Barry Bonds. Okay, so Fernando and Mark both played in St. Louis together. That's their
Cool.
thing
Cool,
together.
cool, cool.
Mark and Barry held the home run record. That's their thing. And Fernando.
That's not the only thing.
It's a Venn diagram. There's two more things to be revealed, Taylor.
I'm so out of the loop. Just keep going, Zach.
Fernando and Barry have hit 2 home runs versus Chan Ho Park. That's their connection together. And what do all 3 of these
needed
guys
one
have in
more
common? What do these all share? And it would be steroids.
Anabolic.
Oops. The
Anabolic
asterisk.
steroids. Although there
It's a
is topical steroids discussed in this as well.
Yeah, you got to put it on your nuts.
The testy cream, the testosterone cream.
Yeah.
Yeah, TRT. The only sort of hormone replacement therapy that like everyone's apparently chill with. Like the only gender confirming treatment that like supposedly nobody has any problem with. Also crazy that you showed the shoulder because that most likely wasn't the injection.
Family
spot.
friendly show, dude. Family friendly show. We're gonna make 9/11 jokes. We're not gonna show butts.
Yeah, the
In between toes, like they're fucking.
Like they're
sweet
heroin
meats?
addicts.
yeah.
But so yeah, if you didn't know, they usually baseball players shoot steroids into their butts.
Yeah, not
Because
not
no one's looking
into
at
the
their
parts,
cheeks.
not the parts of the shoulder I've had replaced.
I'm so out of like the loop of steroids. It's
Right,
something
let's-
that helps like promote muscle growth.
That's-
like stamina and
Yes.
everything else. Like it's boosting your hormone testosterone, but
Yeah.
also in turn boosting muscle growth. It's not just like an additive. To,
Zach, I'm gonna let you go if you've got a prepared segment, but I
Yeah,
can also
that's-
jump into this.
Let me run
that's
through.
the
I know
thing.
you have so much medical stuff that you can add to this. So let me go
I'm
through
dumber-
what I have listed here. And I want to come out to start to say like we're not going to go super deep into steroids and the steroid scandal. This is kind of a destination I found on this journey to talk about all these players, and I feel like we can't talk about Barry Bonds and Mark McGwire without talking about the steroid era and steroids themselves, because that is you need to understand the fourth member of the podcast, the other man in the batter's box with those guys.
Oh fuck!
was steroid.
Are you boys on gear? Because I'm willing to go there. if it can make us a better podcast, like I'm willing to. Like we can get on the juice.
It might make us better podcasters for sure. So to my understanding and how I present steroids, it is not necessary. It's not one product you put in, and it's a cocktail of products you put in your body, and it is not one. I'll have one steroid today, sir. It is just a term connoting cheating, like. Cheating is a very broad term. Cheating, how did you cheat? What did you do? Did you shave points? Did you strike out on purpose? How did you do it? So steroids to me, because there's so many different kinds of steroids that I'm going to list, that I've listed down here, that give people the edge. It's getting a physical edge to a game that the playing field was supposed to be biological and genetic growth. So some people have taken advantage of that with certain cocktails that they have been given by trainers and doctors and things like that. And for some people, they don't know that it contains anabolic steroids in it, but they take it
I mean,
anyway.
that's the big. If there were steroids with no consequences,
Right. Well,
I feel like the mood would be still side eye about cheating in sports, but
There's
the
not
fact
necessarily-
that this destroys your body while also promoting stamina,
here's-
muscle mass, everything
if
else.
steroids are bad, why do we have steroids? It's because they have a benefit to people that require them. Steroids are a man-made, genetically modified, concoction to replicate, testosterone that is found in men or
Puberty.
It's so. My mom used steroids because she was having a Bell's palsy in her right side of her face. So it's
I was recommended steroid treatment for a cyst I have.
when
There are people who like back pain.
Yeah.
When
Like people are prescribed steroids
there's
all
a
the time.
there's a positive usage for this medicine and
when
it's
used
not
correctly,
excelling
right?
at sports.
Exactly. When
There's a significant difference between being prescribed like steroids for recovery from an injury and like the steroid regimen
Yeah.
that a professional athlete undergoes. And this is even kind of necessarily like a different era from human growth hormone.
Yeah.
which
but yeah.
I got on the next slide here, or next couple slides.
It's
that-
not just corn. It's not just corn fed.
It ain't just
Apparently
being
not.
born bred and corn fed to be a fucking dinger machine.
But yeah, so to our next slide. I always click on the wrong screen. I'm just gonna circle the nipple so I can get on this screen.
What?
So
That's a titty.
So Balco had a big scandal, and this is Vic Conti, the founder.
Clearly
of Balco.
not on the gear.
Not the faction I picked in Fallout New Vegas.
Clearly not on the gear. Hopefully.
Clearly.
If so, he should be ashamed. If that dude's
so
on gear,
Balco, if he's not on the juice, then I'm gonna.
if
get
he's
loose.
on, if he's on the juice, then like that's an anti-advertisement.
So Balco was founded by Vic Conti. It stands for Bay Area Laboratory Cooperative, and it started out as like being a neighborhood supplement store, like holistics and like herbal
Like
medicines and stuff.
GNC.
Yeah, like a
Yeah,
GNC. And then didn't quite take off. They really needed to start making money, so they moved into blood and urine analysis as their main thing, and they started to get contracts with athletic departments to test athletes for drugs. So they were at the front lines of knowing what's detected and what is not detected in screenings for these athletes.
To give you another contemporary, like LabCorp.
Yeah, which
Like if you do a pre-employment drug screening, if you're getting like hired at a job and you have to do a piss test,
LabCorp is the place it
LabCorp
goes
are the
through.
people who are doing it for you. Like these people are like doing the same shit they are.
So, who better to know what's going to show up in a urine and blood analysis than the people that are taking the tests, right?
And this guy.
Is this not a face you trust?
This man knows piss.
This motherfucker and his Vincent Price mustache.
Hey, that is a Walter Disney mustache if I've ever seen one in my life.
That's a Walter Disney mustache and hairline.
This
Also
guy
coming
is
from
really this is
someone-
roided Walt Disney.
I'm
Hang on, let's
trying
just-
to find somebody.
This
who can
motherfucker
play.
could have used some more cigarettes, honestly.
There we go. Now he's a real Disney.
What? Oh, he's got one.
Now he's got a
Put some
stogie.
cigarettes in that bloodstream. And then he's close to Disney in terms of testosterone.
But look at this tie too. That's not a going to court tie. Or is it?
That's
That's a. I'm gonna go smell some piss tie.
This guy loves piss.
all about it. He's all about piss and blood.
So they started peddling pharmaceuticals. There was a chemist, Patrick Arnold, who, if I were to do a more in-depth, longer steroid episode, he's going to be a great topic to talk about. He was the chemist of the stars, where he created a lot of synthetic steroids that were almost untraceable unless you knew what you were looking for. He created the tetrahydrogesterinone THG. He manufactured that himself.
Yeah.
So Patrick
No,
Arnold and Conti got into business from 1988 to 2002, and then they started peddling these drugs. And around 1996, when they got on the clientele of Bill Romanowski, the football player, that's when things started to kind of boost for the Balco company. What were you gonna say, Taylor? Sorry.
There's a constant game of cat and mouse between the FDA and the manufacturers of drugs,
Yeah.
where like you can constantly just absolutely add a different molecule, where effectively like the substance doesn't do a different thing, but because it is molecularly different from something that's banned by the FDA, whether that be for
Oh yeah, it's
like-
not a loophole. It's just a genuine. You are bypassing
whether that be
ban.
for a recreational drug, a performance enhancing
Yeah.
drug, something of that nature, you can always remain one step ahead. Like the chemists always like had the advantage in the game of cat and mouse.
And this guy, our dollar store Walt Disney, is essentially chemist.
Dollar
steroids.
store.
He's the businessman.
This is the
who
Patron
employs the
liquor
chemist.
of Walt Disney.
He has a bunch of people like my brother.
I think I
on
saw this
payroll.
Weird Al music video. I think I've seen this one.
Yeah, so
I'm
there,
trying to place the face.
so there was a triangle of business venturists in this. You had
Okay.
Vic, you had Pat, our chemist.
Okay.
But then how did Vic and Pat get this out to what's their word on the street guy? They needed to have somebody to tell the athletes what the capabilities are. And that's where we get fucking G-Reg, Greg the Leg Anderson.
Oh.
And
Oh,
I
Fred
believe
Durst?
ZMA is another. yes, Muscle Fred Durst. I believe ZMA is another compound of a type of steroid or a supplement that they were pushing.
Mm-hmm.
This photo is from Muscle and Fitness magazine in 2003, when they were featuring Greg and Vic in a story that featured
in a positive light.
So in a actually
2 years
yes,
before they
in a positive way.
2 years before they featured them
Yeah.
in a negative light.
Yeah.
So Greg is born in 1966. Born in Southern California, I believe. He's a professional trainer. And during the Balco case, he refused to testify against Vic, against his clients.
Fifth Amendment.
So he's done several different jail time stints, sometimes for like a couple months, sometimes for like just for a judge to flex on him and like make him sweat. He'll do a month of prison time or something like that.
He went
it's
to
not worth going
college,
into.
as they would say, in
Yeah,
organized
yeah,
crime.
yeah.
Yeah. But what made him super useful to this whole operation was that he grew up and was best friends with Barry Bonds. So this whole story was about Barry and his fitness journey and what his regimens are and what kind of like cocktails he takes. And it was all promoting supposedly herbal supplements, stuff that you can find at a GNC, or just practices that gave him the edge over everybody else. But like we're going to find out in a year that no, it was steroids. It was steroids, y'all. In fact,
I mean, that's everything in athletics.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, there's the TB12 method of, like, how did Tom Brady have the longevity of career that he did with the greatness that he had? Like, there is, currently in baseball, like, Shohei Ohtani's regimen. Like, how, like, what did he do with his life? And, like, the training regimen that he had and the diet that he maintained and, like, the physical training that he underwent that allowed him to be such a dominant player and the first two-way player in effectively a century. Like, everyone's always looking for that particular edge in any given professional sport because it's a
Absolutely.
industry of millionaires.
It's what makes you. We wouldn't be talking about Barry Bonds if Barry Bonds didn't have something that separated him from a Phil Nevin or a
Mike Cameron.
Juan Encarnacion or a Jeff Kent. You know, if he was just
But
a Jeff Kent player, we wouldn't be talking about him. But he had something that made him so much more substantial to the game.
But also, like, Victor got results in that way. I
Yeah.
assume, where it's that sort of thing where you have immediate results from your whatever you're pumping into these athletes. And
It's not necessarily immediate. Like, that's the thing
Yeah.
about anabolic
Yeah.
steroids. Like, you still have to do the work. Like, Barry Bonds couldn't just shoot all that fucking tren and testosterone into his fucking ass, and then just go crack a record
Crack
number
12
of dingers.
pack.
He
Yeah.
still had to go to the weight
Oh
room.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
he's still training, but it's a leg up on that training as well as your performance.
It's
when-
the
when-
training on top of his natural talent as like his
Yeah,
eye
yeah.
as a batter. Like he
Yeah.
had like the eye of a leadoff hitter, and he had necessarily like the ability to have the body of a cleanup hitter.
And when you're given this fucking fairy godmother of Victor here,
Yeah.
who just kind of goes, "I can give you everything you want,
makes-
but more. It'll make you more you."
Victor gives you something that makes each bench press
Yeah.
much more productive.
Yeah.
Is this a pro steroids podcast?
I love him.
it's the kind of thing. It's the kind of thing where like I'm against it. Like you have people already destroying their bodies in the sport themselves, let alone when you add things that accelerate the destruction of their bodies. With unfair advantage, everything else.
So
of
what
course.
exactly was going into the general blanketed term of steroids from Balco? We'll specifically talk about Barry Bonds because I don't have Mark McGuire's recipe, but Barry was taking. I mean, this is all speculation. This is just what Balco offered, and it said that they would put their clients on X, and then they would supplement them with Y and Z as a cocktail. And I'll go into the description of what everything kind of is.
It runs in cycles. At this point in time, if you're this level of athlete, you're not necessarily like on a strictly like bathtub regimen of anabolic steroids that like will permanently fuck you up for life.
Yeah.
You're running like medically supervised cycles where
Yeah.
you're going to have like these super high peaks and then some valleys, and then the medical like professionals who are observing and monitoring your progress are trying to time all of this with the sports season that you
Yeah.
participate in.
Yeah.
It's probably really expensive to do. So
It's extremely expensive
Yeah.
to do. This is like $5+ grand a week.
So the main cocktail is what I mentioned already, tetrahydrogestrinone, and that is known as THG. And what that does is it has the same effect as testosterone does. But when you're using it in a time when you're not in a testosterone deficit, it adds more muscle mass, right? It adds, what does testosterone do, gentlemen? It adds more, because we always talk about
It builds
testosterone.
muscle.
mass.
It builds muscle.
It builds muscle.
Which
high, like lower tolerance for any sort of aggression.
it makes you more aggressive.
Yeah.
It's a spike in hormones that make you more aggressive. There's a proclivity of like kind of how chill you are as a person that will lead to like how aggro you're absolutely going to be. But the benefit of like this spike in testosterone is when you are at rest, because like when you work out, when you are pumping iron, when you are lifting heavy things and putting them down, you are destroying muscle fiber. And then when you are at rest, like the muscle fiber builds back. So testosterone isn't necessarily like your ability to like put more heavy shit up. It's the ability to build more muscle mass when your body is at rest, when you're sleeping or not lifting heavy shit
So
and putting it back down.
this would be combined with erythropoietin, EPO, which is a hormone that stimulates erythropoiesis, which is a treatment for anemia. It allows or it increases the red blood cells, which enhances the body's transportation of oxygen. So you're a lot more alive. You're a lot more awake and everything. And then they were also distributing HGH, human growth hormones, which builds the muscle mass.
Which is directly what your body
I mean,
pumps during
that's
puberty.
what your goal is. When you're a victor here and you're targeting athletes with your treatment, you're targeting. Well, we need to grow muscle mass. We need to boost your testosterone levels so you can stay active more. You can play harder, faster, longer, in whatever game you're playing.
Well, it maximizes like the effectiveness of your workout.
Yeah.
Like everyone, like there are plenty of fucking batters who are working out just as hard, if not harder, than a Barry Bonds, a Mark McGuire, folks like that. But they weren't getting the same results from that same workout.
Well, that in your 70s and 80s, you have players playing on fucking cocaine, acid, and what have you.
There's a lot of performance-enhancing drugs, Ryan, and I'm sure Zach might get to some of the other ones.
Yeah.
Well, I just
Like,
have
it's
one
not
more to
just
talk about.
steroids.
Just have the dichotomy with something more organized.
Yeah, there's greenies, there's cocaine,
Yeah.
there's acid in one particular instance.
Yeah, yeah.
I assume a lot of players took acid and just botched a game. But
Dude, there's so
somebody
many
did
stories.
good, and that's,
Well, there's a lot of stories of players that didn't know they were going to play that day, so they decided to get drunk in the bullpen or something. And or
Only
dudes
one
that-
of them. Only one of them did LSD.
that everybody
And
knows
threw a
about.
no-no.
No, dude, the
Not-
pitchers.
not everyone hit
pitchers
a
for
no-no.
sure were like, especially today. I bet you pitchers are taking edibles, knowing like, I'm a starter. It's my day off. I technically don't even have to be at the game today, so I could just pop an edible, go to the game. Oh, whoops! I got a pitch, coach. So one more drug to talk about is modafinil, which is designed to be taken before competition in order to sharpen senses and performance. It was originally used to treat narcolepsy and sleeping disorders. So that's the kind of like deep state kind of
it's
thing this
to
is.
snap you out of sudden sleepy, so you're forever awake for the
The American trucking industry has been on this forever. The
yeah.
Oh,
the
Benzatrines
Teamsters
too,
Union
yeah.
runs off of this shit,
Okay.
and so did baseball.
Yeah.
And other iterations off of different versions of this drug. This is just greenies, but under a different name.
So that is steroids and Barry Bonds. Who else we had on that list was Mark McGuire. And whereas with Barry refuses to testify that he
Holy
did
shit.
them. Mark did it. Mark said he did it. This is from his interview saying about how sad he is that he did it and what a disgrace to the game he was. But come on, Mark, we all knew. Everybody knew. Look at the size of these
Dog.
gams.
Your
I know
your
he
neck
went,
is
he went from Ron Howard to Ron Howard, but you're doubling up on 2 R's, 2 H's, 2 D's,
3 W's.
3 W's.
Yeah, no, like every muscle is at least 3 times as big, especially the neck. Except for the testicles. Those are 2 times as small.
They are. His
Yeah.
testicles shrunk 2 times the size that day. But Mark was not involved in the Balco scandal. At some point, when I want to do a full steroid episode, he'll be a star, and we'll get to talk about how his stats increased over time. Which the graph of his stats increasing and the amount of steroids he was using, it's kind of a parallel chart.
Yeah.
But I did talk about Fernando Tatis Sr. And technically, he never did steroids. This is a shocker to me because until I was looking up, I made a lot of this under the assumption he was a primary juicer, like that he was a part of the boys gang. But there's no evidence I can find. I even remember the only reason I can connect this is his son was suspended 80 games for using steroids. And he plays for the San Diego Padres right now. So I remember
But he
when
was
that
never-
happened,
Fernando
that there was a
Tatis
bunch of
Jr..
that there were a
Yeah.
bunch of tweets coming out like just like his dad, juicing. But I can't find any articles. I can't find any interviews that talk about Fernando Tatis admitting to using steroids. Just that he was
None of
on
the
teammates
big
with Mark
court
during the
cases.
juice years, scrubbed from
Yeah.
the internet.
I mean, they could be a multitude of things. One, he may not have done it, which
Yeah,
is
could've
what
been.
I
Yeah.
imagine he
Yeah.
will testify as the reason. Two, testing standards were just not there at the time because
Yeah.
one, the MLB wasn't aware, which is the least likely of the scenarios, or two, they purposely didn't want to know at
That-
the time.
Or
Also-
3 really good lawyers. Mm-hmm. He could have
Yeah,
really
the lawyers come in a little down the road. Once the testing standards start to improve, that's when the lawyers get involved.
What I should say is we're all under the understanding that players during the steroid era were breaking the rules, right? Like, we're all in agreement of that?
Yeah.
Yes.
They weren't breaking any rules, guys.
Yeah.
Anabolic steroids.
No rules
Anabolic
against
steroids were not a
performance-enhancing
suspendable drug until 2005. Long
drugs. I mean,
after these
gambling
guys.
also wasn't. There wasn't like the specific rules against gambling that Pete Rose violated, but they still fucked him in the ass.
Exactly. And so it was always under the everybody. It wasn't like nobody knew that steroids were a thing, and like one day they popped up out of nowhere. There was a press release from the commissioner in 1991. I wrote his name down here somewhere, but we're on the wrong slide from it. But he sent out a statement saying any player caught with steroids is going to be suspended. And that was kind of just like the law of the land. You're going to get suspended if you're caught doing steroids. But
So don't get caught.
but it was never a rule. And
Yeah.
when the Balco came out, when Barry Bonds was breaking records, they asked him about that. Like, didn't you say that this was a rule? And he's like, it was more of just like a honor code thing. It wasn't, because you'd have to negotiate with the Players Association, the union, to negotiate what is a suspendable offense in the game, the code of conduct for a player, and that was never written
Yeah.
in over negotiations. There was never like, oh, guys, should we think about putting steroids in there and doing that? And it wasn't until 2005. So that's why, Barry was never suspended. He's kind of just been shunned by the MLB. Same with Mark, just kind of shunned by the MLB. Although they both have worked in organizations
Sosa.
since. Sammy, Sammy kind of went his own path too. But Mark and Barry both
Jose.
worked for other teams as coaches, hitting coaches, things like that. After the whole steroid scandal was
Yeah.
done and over with, but there's no.
They weren't shunned from the MLB. They're
just
just sort
Not
of
entirely.
just records.
They're shunned
you
from
add a little,
Cooperstown.
Yeah, you add a little asterisk.
And that's what
No.
is interesting is the asterisk. It's that, like you've been saying, Taylor, Barry still hit those home runs. He was given. He
Had to have the hand-eye coordination to do it.
exactly. Had he
athletic
not been
ability.
on those drugs, would he still have hit a lot of home runs? He sure as shit would have. But there was a philosophy he was talking about. One of the many interviews he's done about hitting home runs. They're like, how do you hit the ball so often? And he said, well, behind me is a guy with a mitt catching a ball. And I just thought, I could do that with the bat, right? So his goal going up to hit was always to catch the ball with the bat. If a catcher can catch the ball, my bat can hit the ball. Doesn't matter how far I have to reach, how in I have to go. It's all going to be the same. And that got him somewhere. And that's not a philosophy. Steroids don't put that on the jar. They're saying, did you try hitting the
No.
ball? No, you have to do that your own damn self.
No, you can be juiced to the gills, but if you can't fucking hit a ball, you're just gonna be a absolute beefcake swinging and missing.
There was
Yeah.
a Mariner that got suspended, and he was like a minor leaguer that got up to the show maybe for 5 games, and he got suspended 80 games, and it was like, who? Who are you?
His name is Robinson
Yeah.
Cano.
Yeah, Robbie did get suspended. And Robbie, that's a great segue back into this, because Robbie, much like Fernando Tatis Jr., was getting treatment for an injury in the Dominican Republic. And from Robbie's case, I think it was like an actual physical thing. What the story for Fernando Jr. is, he was treating ringworm, and he was given an anabolic steroid to help, get it done with. At least that's what Daddy said. That's what Dad
If I'm
said.
not- If I'm also not mistaken, there is something that like you can take that would get you popped for
of
a
course.
violation of the performance enhancing drug policy within the MLB
Yeah.
nowadays. That like I would test dirty in the MLB currently for.
Right.
That is a diuretic. That also tests you tests you dirty. A diuretic is just like any drug that makes you pee more. I take drugs for high blood pressure.
Oh.
I have high blood pressure, so the drugs that I take to help control my blood pressure also make me pee a bit more. That also cleans your system out with a little bit more frequency. And if your drug testing procedures for the career that you do involves peeing in a cup and that sample being set in, the more that you're peeing, the more that you pee out is just water. So a lot of like professional athletes that have been suspended really in like the last 10 years are often getting popped for having had a diuretic in their system.
We can pontificate about false positives all day, but
Yeah.
then for every 10 of those, there's somebody that, well,
Yeah.
the best testing in the world, and they got away with it.
Well, that's the thing. Like, if I'm also on like Trenibin, and I'm like juiced to
Yeah.
the fucking gills, and I'm on all the gear I could possibly can be, I'm also going to be prescribed a diuretic so that my
yeah.
pee is as like close to water
yeah.
as possible.
yeah,
whenever
you're
I'm
not
peeing
doing
in that
anything
cup.
nefarious, but you're getting picked up on tests. But also, with the manner of tests, you have people, blatantly juicing,
Yeah.
doing other things, and that test
Mm-hmm.
may just not pick it up.
And there's also people who are like legitimately on TRT for medical reasons,
Yeah.
so, like whether it be for
Yeah.
like male fertility, things of that nature. Dwight Freeney of the NFL
Yeah.
is a great
Which is
example
such a
of
bummer.
this.
And that's in the whole steroid episode. I don't want us to forget that the narrative should be like, I don't know.
Sorry,
No.
it's an easy chasm to fall
totally
down
is.
to.
Such a chat.
There's so much more to talk about with steroids, and in Fernando Jr.'s case, it seems like there's so many other things he could have taken if this really was about ringworm. If this wasn't just like a lie to cover up, that he actually did get popped for, with the intent of being a better baseball player. He took these drugs, but he got them in the Dominican Republic, which is a lot more lax on their use of steroids. Whereas in America, it's really strict to get steroids because of misuse on them. So I think it's plausible that maybe he may have had some sort of. He just like didn't know that they were going to give him.
What's your personal thoughts, Zach? Like, your lawyer's in the room. Your lawyer's at the call. Because I don't know. I don't know Tito.
So I'm not going to say I love steroids because it does create an unfair playing field, but it did give the best baseball of all time. And that's why people don't like baseball now. It's because they got such a high that when steroids were coming in, you were seeing people like Roger Clemens huck 100-mile-an-hour fastballs, and games were exciting.
Yeah.
A home run could happen at any time. But now it did the complete heel turn where stats became the new steroids. And we're going to put so many guys on this side of the field because stats say that you hit the ball over here. So we're going to win.
Of course.
And it went from
became
being
the Nico
super
Van
fun.
Wyk game.
It went from being super fun to
But
super
what-
nerdy.
What about this guy, though? Like, the report is out he did not do steroids. How do you feel, Zach?
I love
like,
it.
Like, just personal opinion.
I don't hate steroids, but I love a pure baseball player. That's why I love Cal Ripken. Is Cal Ripken was a pure
Okay,
baseball player,
okay,
and he
okay.
didn't put up the most hits. He didn't have a home run record. He didn't, he was just a great utility guy, a great ball player.
A Ken Griffey Jr. also
Yeah.
for like a young Seattle Mariners
yeah,
fan.
I want to believe that Ken Griffey Jr. got his success without steroids.
Oh yeah,
That's my personal.
He's
That's my
clean.
personal belief. He's clean.
he's
I mean, you watch what happened. You watch what happened like in Cincinnati and then Chicago and then like the second run in Seattle. And it's pretty easy to like put together like Ken Griffey Jr. did it honest.
Yeah.
He was just genetically gifted during his most talented years. I don't know. I also fall into like the line of like there is a fucking eyeball test. Like in any sport where you have like when it comes to like penalties in the NFL, like where there should be this sort of metric of like the guy on the bar stool
Yeah.
of like, can the person on a bar stool watching the 24-inch screen at the bar obviously see that a penalty occurred? That's when the ref should be throwing a flag.
Gotcha.
There is an eyeball test when it comes to like steroid usage in professional sports. And honestly, this is actually a pretty good picture here. Because if we look at the neckline of Fernando Tatis Jr. on the left and Fernando Tatis Sr. on the right, there's a man who has a lot more neck than the other.
Yeah, he can look beefier.
Oh,
And so
not
while
to, not
one,
to even
maybe
mention,
it got popped.
oh, it's the wrong slide.
Yeah.
But like,
Well,
We go-
his arms covering the neck, but
Look
nobody's
at-
seen Mark McGuire's neck since like 1991.
Exactly. Like
I
there
get why they
is
call it
there's
the
a
traps, dude. Look at this
relatively
triangle.
yeah, and
He's
like
an anime villain.
I saw this guy in One
Steroids.
Piece.
steroids feed into hormones. Like that's part of
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
being tested here. And there are so many fucking issues with this in athletics right now. Not just from like a fairness and competition standpoint, but like equity within sports, a representation in sports amongst
Yeah.
like trans athletes, a representation in sports amongst like cisgender athletes who may not fit within like the biological norm.
Yeah.
This is such a fucking hot button topic within sports in general at the moment, that like there is still no true one path to go down and like one metric with which to evaluate every single fucking athlete. But there is kind of an eyeball test.
And I think it's just it's just prudish though for
Yeah.
like where not to that we have to talk about the philosophy of enhancing drugs, but the humans enhance themselves in so many ways for a high performance job like sports are. And where is the line drawn? Like if
Yeah.
Russell Wilson were to get his knee replaced, he becomes a half biological or bionic man.
Yeah,
is
yeah,
that
yeah.
enhancing his
what
performance?
kind of performance? Yeah, no. What a better diet, some exercise regimen, training to be a pitcher for 7 days a week for an entire season. Like, is
We
that
celebrate-
performance enhancing?
we
but
celebrate
you
Michael
have to
Phelps.
It does
put
enhance
that
the
line
performance
somewhere.
Yeah, you do have to put it somewhere or allow it all. Just have
we
have
celebrate
yourself
Michael Phelps,
He was
one
a
of the most
pothead.
decorated Olympic athletes of all time.
But was he only a pothead?
The only drug he ever popped positive for is a performance de-enhancing drug.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this Junior on the left part of this slide?
Yes.
Is
One
this-
of the
is
best
this-
players in baseball at the moment.
Is this Junior when he's being accused of steroid abuse? Is this like
I don't have a date on this photo. It's not of significance.
Okay.
He's never been more jacked than that. I can say.
No.
from,
This
like,
is
at
this
least-
is his
Is that-
body
that-
type. This is his body type. For his body type before, his body type after. There's no physical. This
you,
is what is
you brought
surprising
up
about
like
him.
the neck being
Yeah.
big, and I went like,
Look at his
neither
dad.
of these men look like a Mark McGuire, Barry.
Yeah, but look
Bonds.
at the shoulders and look at the neck on Dad. And one of these two was accused of using performance enhancing drugs, and the other one wasn't.
It's hard to tell.
That's why I'm saying like there's
For me, I mean,
It's
if
super
I'm on the jury,
complicated.
like it's hard to tell.
one of these two used performance enhancing drugs. Eyeball test. Who are you calling?
Oh, if it's trolley problem where one of these two have used performance enhancing drugs, it's Senior on the right.
Exactly.
Of course.
It's Senior just wiggling like I'm not on steroids. I'm definitely not on steroids. That's
By
what it
a
would
country
look like.
fucking mile, it's
but
Senior.
but neither of them scream it. To me.
Not quite in the same way a Barry
Yeah.
Bonds,
No.
a Mark McGuire, or to get outside the realm of baseball, your Hulk Hogan's, your Macho Man Randy
Yeah,
Savages,
yeah.
like the absolute fucking extremes of anabolic steroids in a professional sport with heavy quotations. But like, I do feel like there's still at least somewhat of a barstool eye test when it comes to performance enhancing drugs.
I partial.
But what does that actually get us to? Like, if we do an eyeball test, like, yeah, one of these guys is doing steroids, do we have to then say, like, well, you can't play the game because you're doing
Well,
steroids? Or is it,
Well,
where
I
does our
assume
outcome
you
come
mean
from
I
there?
assume you mean a thorough eyeball test where you're not only looking at
No, an up and down, a little once over.
Hey, we watch
a
Mark
twirl for me.
McGuire go from Ron Howard to big in a couple years, but also like stats, performance. All of a sudden, you have a hitter who's doing nothing, and then they get super fucking jacked over a short period of time.
If you guys ever have the
Red
time,
flag.
you should check out a graph of Brett Boone's stats right around 2001. Because
How the hell?
Brett Boone, how the hell? Yeah, because Brett Boone like set the home run record for a second baseman in like 2001.
That motherfucker's on the
never
gear.
never came close to it ever again. He had a heck of a year, heck of a couple years.
Are
that-
you guys implying something?
I'm not implying. I am
Definitive.
I'm not even implying. I am asserting Brett Boone was on the fucking gear during that period of time. I'd put money on that on that. Like if you had some Brett Boone blood that's been sitting in a cryogenic chamber since 2001, 2002, and we could test it fresh as the day it was drawn, I would put everything. I'd put it all.
You put the house on it.
I'd put the fucking my retirement account on. Yeah, he's on the gear.
Here's the thing: you put that much emphasis, and I also feel like that's also Brett Boone's stance. Like, yeah,
I mean, he's never had to admit it.
I'll put my entire career. I'll put the next drug test. I'll put my next 5-year salary on the line. I need to get better.
That
and
is
if
what he did,
if I'm
yeah.
short term getting better, like
We've said a lot about. Oh, actually, one final thing about these two, father and son.
yeah.
You remember that day he hit 2 home runs? Or 2 grand slams?
2 grand slam.
Which
yeah,
technically
no.
are also 2 home runs.
yeah.
He did that in Los Angeles at Dodger Stadium. And it was on 4/23/19. I should have just gone 99.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Oh, I don't have the year, but Fernando Tatis
22.
Jr. hit 2 home runs in Dodger Stadium
Oh.
on
I believe it was
4/23/2022.
2022.
Oh.
I want to say, or maybe it's 2021.
I think it's 2021 or 2022.
Could be 23.
I don't believe so.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think it was that recent.
Okay. Thanks. So they hit 2 home runs in Dodger Stadium on the same day, father and son. I mean, years apart, but still the sentiment is there. Okay, so we have talked about a lot of players, a lot of people, a lot of characters have
Yeah.
come up in this episode. We've talked about the Tatises, the Tati. We've talked about Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds' friend, Greg Anderson, has come up. Vic Conti has come up as well, steroid pusher. So let's just go back to where we all started, which is Chan-Ho Park. And
What the fuck
just-
happened to him?
Just to keep things going with it, what happens to a park deferred?
Was he
What did they do to my boy?
What did they dissect him in Tron?
Did they
What
shoot
is
him?
This?
What the fuck is happening on the left?
On the left, I can understand. On the right,
So I'll tell you about those, but let's go over the first thing. What happens to Chan-Ho Park? Like I said, in 2001, he becomes an all-star. Only time he becomes an all-star. And then the next season, he'll sign with the Texas Rangers, who will then trade him to the San Diego Padres. And he has a season of 12-8, which is not bad.
Serviceable.
In 2006, he will suffer from intestinal bleeding. This
Diverticulitis?
will take. I don't know if that's what it was called, but it just said intestinal bleeding. A lot of his teammates would offer to
Bonitis.
give blood to him, but they would take them off the roster for a few days. So Jake Peavy's wife donated her blood, and their team massage therapist, Kelly Calabrese, also volunteered her blood. And it worked for a little bit, but then months later he was back in the hospital again with his wife. His wife was also suffering from some sort of blood thinning or internal bleeding
Yeah.
while
Holy shit.
she was pregnant. So the three of them went
double
into
yeah.
the hospital.
So everyone's having a fucking medical crisis.
Yeah. And then
Baseball's no longer a concern at this point.
I know.
Exactly,
Why were we
exactly.
talking about steroids?
Just keep these 3 people alive.
Just give this man blood.
well, they all come out. They all come out alive in one piece. All 3 of them.
Yay!
Everything works
Happy
out.
to hear that, actually. I did not know the results of this, and I was seriously hoping that, like,
We weren't about to go
everyone
into
comes out happy and healthy.
Yeah. From 2006 to 2007, he wouldn't see much of the majors, recovering, and then his game really never got back. It would be people would give him the option for a minor league contract or to do relief, and that really wasn't his deal. So he went back to Korea for a little bit, and he, I believe he played in the not the baseball league, but played for Korea in the World Baseball Classic, I want to say.
National team.
Yeah, for the
Got to be-
national team.
Yeah.
Has to be a national hero.
So to explain the art here, there was a whole museum for Chanho Park in South Korea. This was a statue made
so
of
he's
photos.
an actual hero.
He's the first
Yeah.
Korean player in Major League Baseball. He was. We talked about his feats, the times he was at his lowest, but he still represented a country in Major League Baseball. The first South Korean to make it to the league. He opened the door for so many other people to come there. There was a story I was reading about this, about a girl who met him in 1994 when he premiered for the Dodgers, and how proud she was, because she's a Korean journalist, how proud she was of him. And she, as an American in Korea, felt the necessary to change her name to be more Americanized. And that's what a lot of Koreans felt at the time, too. They had nobody with their names in the media presence whatsoever. So for him to come to America and have people learn how Korean is spoken, that to know that I'm not going to change my name to Chance Park. You're going to learn what Chanho means, and you're gonna have to say it every time I come up to bat. He really put his foot down as a major. I think he was even like the second Asian pitcher in baseball too. So he has quite the feat. So there's a museum exhibit of Chanho Park, photographs compiling all of his jerseys that he wore throughout his time in the majors. The face is rough, face is kind of creepy. But the rest
It's
of
a,
it is
it's a
real
little.
interesting.
It's no Madame Tussauds, and even then, that's not great most of the time.
It's a fucking Sona AI nightmare.
It looks like a really good anime statue for an anime I haven't seen, where it's like,
I mean, the
blood baseball.
The face is great because, like, you know, that remained consistent. Maybe except for goatees and mullets, but like the uniform. Holy Jesus fucking Christ!
Somebody tried. This is
You got
not,
some pinstripes in there. Did he do a stint with the Yankees?
you
He
know,
Is that where
did.
that's coming from? Okay,
He did,
There we
and the
go.
Phillies. The Phillies have pinstripes too.
Yeah,
Yeah, but he had a
that's
cup of
why.
coffee
That's
with the
why
Yankees.
the bloodstains are there.
You know, it's not the best Warhammer mini I've ever seen, but you know, it's
ain't a
it's definitely reduced priced on
Let me
eBay.
tell you, dog, it ain't a fucking mini.
Yeah, no,
At
it's a
at that
maxi.
size,
That's
that's
and then this one I
probably
really
life
liked.
size.
I really like this one because it goes back to our slide on pitching. This was an example of his beautiful curveball put into an installation showing the batter whiff it. I just loved how the artistic interpretation of baseball and how it translates to, you know, just art in general. Not just a photo, not a painting, but physical art, statues, things like that.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I like
It's cool
everything
that
but
baseball
the
has found its
batter.
way into that.
On that,
I feel like it could be done without the catcher. Personally, if you didn't have the
There's not a
catcher there,
catcher,
and it
I don't think.
no, you have the catcher.
Is that a
entire,
catcher or is that the batter?
You have the catcher's
That's
outfit.
Catcher.
Catching the ball. If you didn't have that
okay.
and just had the batter and the bat swing and the
Uh-huh.
pitcher, the relationship between the two, I'd be a lot more happier.
You
Really?
boys,
but
were
it's
on,
fucking dope.
you boys were on the same page.
Is
I
this
thought
animated? Is it like it
No, I
lights
think
up
these are all
as the
these are
ball
all hang-
goes?
That would be sick. Probably. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them to not have that kind of. But yeah. Hey everybody, this is Zach in post production. This is where we run into what we in the business call a whoops-a-daisy. Ryan and Taylor's recording stopped right about here, but the show must go on. So we do have audio. Unfortunately, it's just the audio from the screen recording of this episode. It's what I was hearing on my end. So you get a little peek behind the curtain on how we kind of record these across the country. So without, I won't hold you guys up here much longer. This is the rest of the episode.
I just thought this was representing a batter with the most fucked stance ever.
Oh yeah, that would be a pretty fucked stance.
The difference between like your
For me, it's the baseball helmet with the fucking bat through it. That's where I went from like, oh no, now I see what I'm supposed to be seeing from this angle.
the human figure in this artistic representation. I thought was like what happens when you put in all the statistics from like a Ortiz to an Altuve in terms of batters, and like this is the fucking monster that it creates. And like the difference of like thousands of batters of shape and size.
You should make art, Taylor.
You should make art.
You should make art. I'll give you like 500 pounds of copper. Go to town.
I'll just wire up a car.
So at
Crazy
the
wiring harness.
at the end of 2007, pardon me. At the end of 2007,
Badgers.
What the fuck's happening? What universe are we in?
we'll explain this. This will come up. This is great. It's fantastic. It's beautiful. He'll sign a contract.
There's a suit underneath it.
He'll
Signed 2 contracts by the looks of it.
yeah, well, with the Padres. He'll sign a contract to come back to the Dodgers in 2007. But then they'll give him a minor league option. But due to some injuries, they will bring him back for the 2008 season to be a starter. While they was waiting on that, he played for the Korean national team. And so on May 17th, 2008, he made his first start as a Dodger since 2001. He didn't win or lose that game, but it was a very historic game because it was the first game in MLB history where all pitchers from one team were of Asian descent, where you had Chan-Ho Park pitching, and then you had Hong-Shu Kuo from Taiwan, and then you had Takashi Saito as a Japanese pitcher to close out the game. A very historic thing for Asian Americans, for Asians in the game of baseball. In 2009, he would make it to his first World Series while playing with the Philadelphia Phillies. After a year of injuries, he would play a relief role in the game of baseball. And
How is he viewed throughout all these? Like, is
just
he,
one of those
is he just
relics.
Sort of like everyone, he comes out, everyone cheers. He does a okay job.
Yeah.
He's still.
The Phillies would lose that World Series, so he doesn't become a World Series winning player. It'd be the one. It would be the one World Series that A-Rod wins with the Yankees in 2009. And
Before he gets his own steroid.
he's going to be a part of the bigger story for sure. In 2008, he became, at the time, one of only 5 pitchers to have started a game against all 30 teams. Quite a feat.
Yeah.
And so that brings us to where these images are from. In 2024, kind of what NFL does, they play games in other countries to expand their reach and to show, like, look at this showcasing of players we have. Long retired, Chan-Ho Park, the city of Seoul hosted a 3-game series of the Los Angeles Dodgers and the San Diego Padres. Chan-Ho Park.
This season.
Chan-Ho Park had played for both teams, and he was the ambassador to the games coming to his home country, being the first Korean-born MLB player born in South Korea. And interestingly enough, he threw that opening first pitch to Hae-Sung Kim, one of the most current South Korean-born Major League Baseball players. Since Chan-Ho Park came into the league, there had been 28 Korean players all time. and 6 are still currently playing in the majors right now, and Hae-Sung Kim being one of them. I miss Daeho so bad. I miss Daeho Lee. And interestingly enough, Hae-Sung Kim plays shortstop on the same team as Fernando Tatis Jr. An interesting little... I don't know what that means. Doesn't mean anything. But it is an interesting sequence that the son of the man that holds the record for 2 Grand Slams in a single inning is playing on the team. Not only that guy that gave up those 2 Grand Slams plays on at one point, but he plays with another South Korean player when it was unheard of at the time when his dad had done such a feat. And it's interesting how the game has evolved in that. So I don't have really an interesting thing to end this episode on. This is the last slide. Right now, Chan-Ho Park plays as some sort of back-of-house player for the Padres. Doesn't play. I shouldn't say plays, but he does like a lot of ambassadorship for the team.
Does he wear a uniform on game day?
No.
Like
He doesn't do the
manager?
Ichiro thing where he just hangs around the facility taking fly balls in the outfield. But interestingly enough, yesterday was Jackie Robinson Day, where we celebrate the first African American that broke the color barrier to come into Major League Baseball. And I wanted to. We don't have a day for Hae-Sung Kim or Hideo Nomo, who are some of the first Asians to come into the Major League Baseball. But I do have the ability to make a little slideshow about him. And even though we're highlighting his lowest moments, he is still a superstar back in South Korea. And I think that's a pretty good note to end this on.
Well, it's significant. I mean, like, baseball is not the global sport. That belongs to football.
But it can unify people from, economic status, national borders, entire fucking continents.
Yeah.
Much like a soccer can. Baseball can unify another half of the world, essentially.
I mean, there's a whole another episode in it, but like much like cricket, baseball represents like the proliferation of a country as a hegemonic power within the world. And you see like the footprints of that country's imperialistic like ambitions being spread throughout, and you see then generations later on like those who were the like victims of a country's imperial like ambitions then becoming the stars of like the hegemonic imperial core's like most popular sports.
Yeah. But also, I love that you laser focus in on one player. The first.
Absolutely.
The flagship. Like, give him time. Let him play. And he's done fucking great in all these other Asian leagues. And
he had a solid ass fucking
And he
career.
continues to do great in the MLB, but he is the guy getting dunked on in the poster.
He is the guy getting dunked on.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He is.
He's got the nuts in his face.
He is the guy who's looking disappointed as he watches a Grand Slam fly the fuck away. Two times in one inning.
And what can be said about that is there is only one man to have hit 2 Grand Slams in a single inning, but there's also only one man to have given up 2 Grand Slams in a single inning. And as powerful as it is to have hit that home run, it is also as powerful to be the guy that stands in there to take that a second time, knowing it could happen.
He's one of one, much like Fernando Tatis Sr.
Yeah.
One of one. Well, thank you guys for listening to this episode. I really appreciate it. I'm glad we got to finally bring in a little bit of Asian stuff into the mix and some steroids too. That's fun.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for listening, everybody. Just as a formal sign off for the episode.
Oh, fuck. I didn't realize this was
Well, I
still
just
part
so
of
have
the
it, just so have a clean formal sign off on it with the tags. The commercials, right? Thanks for listening. This has been Tales from the Slide Deck. Well, I'm Zach.
I'm Ryan.
And if you hear me rambling for 20 fucking minutes, I'm Tay-Rob.
We got to have like a bonus reel of Taylor rambling that we just have going at the end of episodes.
10 hours of sleep, Taylor.
He's going off on the reason that fucking Leah Thomas has become like such a fucking lightning rod of the conservative like outrage machine is because she